There we go. We live. What's up, business nerds? Let me find us out here. It's been a little while since I've done this. I gotta change the settings on the Facebook stuff and find the feed and make it public. There we are. I'll make it public. You guys can share it. All of you crazy listeners that want some good stories can share this thing. If you're outdoorsy, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this one. We got Max and Amber in the background. Max, dude's probably just running and gunning and playing with trucks.
He is.
He already looks like a country music star, by the way. Like, you guys got the dig it.
Right. He's got a big old mullet.
We had Crosby, our 2-year-old, was rocking a huge mullet and shaggy hair. And then he just got so hot. Like, I don't know if he was hot, but I was just hot looking at him. And then we cut her short, which I kind of still feel bad about. But I think by next winter, the mullet will be back. I think he's a winter mullet sort of dude. But we got Ben, big buck killer Ben. Now he's the elk head remover Ben. That's a good. And we got our new buddy Jesse McCoy, who we met down on our elk hunting adventure, and we got some stories for y'all. The game plan for tonight is we're going to kind of take it chronologically. This was like a 2-week adventure, and Jesse fit right smack dab in the middle of it. And to use high school nomenclature, popped our elk hunting cherry. He popped our elk hunting cherry. First, before we get into elk hunting stories, sorry we've been gone for like 3 weeks.
I'm not.
That was the first time I haven't done a podcast in a long time. Ben's not sorry. It was awesome. I'm not actually sorry. I was just doing it to be polite, Ben.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm getting up by Canada. Sorry. But I got to give a shout out to Service Monster. They're over here. There's a QR code. I always get, it's hard on the sides of the screens. There's QR codes everywhere. Ben's pointing at stuff. If you run a service business, there's a magic formula that I find in all of our bookkeeping clients and every business owner that I talk to. And this magic formula goes like this: capacity equals demand. And if capacity equals demand, your life is pretty good. And the farther off you are from capacity equals demand, the worse your life is as a business owner. If you have too many employees and not enough work, your life sucks. If you have too many customers and not enough employees, your life sucks. The farther you get away from capacity equals demand, your life probably sucks. And Service Monster is the best CRM I have found to help you balance your capacity versus demand. We always used to manage, I say used to, when I was in the day-to-day of our home service business. We still do in that business manage capacity and demand based on dollars and how much we can produce in a day. And it allows us to see every route, every single day, how much revenue, how many hours, where we're going. It's got like this color-coded map of where we're going to. A freaking monkey could schedule our jobs and get our capacity and demand.
It's about balance and it's got colors.
Yeah, just like that. I'm a simple man. I like boobs and hunting. Capacity versus men versus boobs is the exact epitome of that equation. Capacity versus demand. You have 2 hands. Your wife has 2 boobs. It's a perfect capacity.
No, if anything, the shirt is actually the complete opposite. The more hunting I do, the less boobs I have.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah. That is a trade-off.
Yeah.
They're just your boobs, not as exciting.
Yeah, they're your boobs. That's not the same. We got
cold.
Angela's in the house. What's up, Angela? Angela says, "Oh no." She jumped into a capacity versus demand. I was trying to rep my my sponsor, Service Monster, but it turned into a boob conversation. Who Zig's in the house. What's up, Zig? Zig's good buddy of mine. Jesse, if you need advice, if you need anything in regards to saddles, Zig is a saddle master. He's actually sponsored by the dudes whose saddles we own.
Nice.
And he has a show and a podcast and all sorts of cool stuff. Smiles, Angela says. She's in the house. But here's the deal, guys. On the capacity demand front, when things get really busy, which happens in the fall, October, November, things are crazy. Ben, did you trim your beard up?
No, but I was just looking at it. It's poofy.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you took a comb and fluffed it up or something. trying to be more like Jesse. He's got a little more going on.
Yeah.
Right. But capacity and demand is always crazy when you get busy. Fall time is the busiest, and you need a CRM that helps you manage that. And again, I've used tons of them, and I see all of them in my bookkeeping business. Service Monster is the best one at helping you manage capacity and demand. So you just don't have to worry about it. You just nail it, and your business is a lot easier to run. Go check it out. I said it before. I'll say it again. I'm not telling you to switch CRMs right now because that would be like changing the tires on your car when you're driving down the highway. That'd be freaking stupid.
Or do like change your bow sight in the middle of a 14-day hunt?
No, it's not. You did that within a day.
Yeah.
You should have done that before you left, and you even tried to. You even kind of tried to, and they talked you out of it at the bow shop. But anyway, don't change your CRM right now. Just go check out Service Monster so that when winter comes and things slow down a little bit, if that's your season, then think about switching. Go check it out. Tell them I said.
How do you think their current CRM would feel about that if they found out that, you know, I mean, that's like cheating, dude. I don't know, man. Like, I think you're a home wrecker.
Pretty sure that's not how it works with CRMs and business owners.
I think that CRM would have negative feelings, probably traumatic stress for the rest of his life. Just saying.
Well, then they should get better at helping you manage your capacity and demand.
Emily, did you hear that?
Yeah. 3 boobs. Emily, you need. Are we still talking about CRMs?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Zig's chiming in. Zig's already in the house. He says, number one piece of advice is if you aren't saddle hunting yet, buy a saddle and start. I don't. There's a bunch of blowhards. I think this is a term I learned from Zig is blowhards who are just like stubborn and like, I do this because this is the way I do it. And I'm a man and I can pee off my stand. There's a lot of blowhards that give saddle hunting a shit because it's kind of like granola, lightweight, blah, blah, blah. Like it gets a bad rap. I don't know anybody that's used a saddle. It's kind of like this. It's a lot like this. I don't know anybody that's used a saddle and gone back to hanging off the side of a tree with a hang-on stand or a climber stand. You might use it here and there, but the minute you start using a saddle, like you for sure use a saddle more and more and more. I know nobody that's gone back the other way. It's just like if you had a business and didn't use a CRM and then you started using a CRM, I know one person out of probably oh yeah, there we go. Well, was that a alarm horn? Was that like a what's the that was like the sound effect? People like
that was the sound of somebody joining the party.
Yeah. Well, that was the sound of when you find an item in the woods.
Yeah. Ding ding.
But I know one person that started using a CRM and then went back to using paper systems for a while. And I was like, I was doing a bookkeeping demo and I was talking to him. I was like, why would you ever go back? And he's like, oh, I'm not staying back. I just didn't like the one I picked. I want to pick a different one. And so I just am going back to the process I already had. That's the only out of thousands of business owners. That's the only one that started with a CRM, backed off, but it was only to find a new one. And the same with saddle hunting. I don't know anybody that's climbing up a tree that has used a saddle and would go back to doing.
And also, you said I can PF the tree in my saddle. You made it seem like I can't. I can.
No, I agree with you, but that's like a rap that they get. That's like Dan Infalt make fun of him, like you can't pee off of that thing. That's like one of his commercials for his hang-on stand, and I'm like, that's wrong. But that's
Dan
being a blowhard. He's just a blowhard. He's a stubborn old dude. He does.
We should get a video of me peeing, and then I'm actually gonna try to poop out of it.
I want to be on the opposite side of the tree for that, so that I don't have any visual line of sight, or just not anywhere near you. I definitely don't want to be behind you.
Right.
You've never seen a poop leave somebody's butthole?
Not direct line of sight. Don't give me that face. Don't try to like conjure up a situation right now. There's no.
Right.
All right, let's start talking elk hunting. So let me frame it up this way. This hunt wasn't supposed to happen. This hunt was not a real thing. This was a glimpse in Ben and I's eye. We started putting in for elk tags in Arizona in a unit that should take. Well, Jesse draws it every year somehow. I think he it's some rig he's got with the Forest Service.
Some with the neighbor. Some with the neighbor.
Somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I got something going on.
But for a non-res, like this should be a 7 to 10 year draw. It seems like is kind
At
of
least five. But yeah, between 7 and 10 is usually that's what I hear.
yeah. And Katie said, "Wait, is that the Ben who didn't take the shot?" Yeah, Katie, that's the Ben that didn't take the shot. Not in his defense, like it was not a shot he was comfortable with. There were a couple times. There's one when he was dark out. There was one where it was face up. There was one where he was sliding his pin around. We'll get to all that. But that is that Ben. That is that Ben. On the other hand, we have Jesse, who doesn't take more than a 40-yard shot, and he shot a cow elk at 90 yards. He did the opposite of what Ben did. Ben was like, I'll take that shot. I'm kidding. I'm not going to take that shot. And then Jesse was like, I'll never take that shot. 90? I think I got that one.
And then, 84 yards sitting there staring at her for 20 minutes. And, well, there it goes.
You had just enough time to think about it.
Yep.
And one person shot an elk. One person shot. We'll get to that. But let's take it chronologically here. So we're not even supposed to have a tag. Our game plan was to go to Utah and try to like go on an elk hunting adventure, just get a cow tag over the counter. And was it March? I forget when we were sitting at your computer, Ben, and we're like looking at tags and we're like,
is it Christmas or something like that?
Was it?
No.
It was sometime
in March.
I thought we were looking at like Boundary Waters permits or something.
Yeah.
Like sometime around then, we're looking at our Arizona tags, and you're like, shit, I don't have any points. I lost all my points. And like, we didn't know how the system worked, right? You pay money.
I thought they found out that I was a piece of shit, and they were like, no, you don't get to do this anymore.
Oh, yeah. You thought they took your points away.
Yeah.
But instead, they drew your tag somehow with 2 years worth of point accumulations, which nobody was happy to find out about. People asked that were locals, that were other out-of-staters. Ryan, the other dude that we ran into 12 times in there, had 10 years of point accumulation that finally drew.
Yeah, from Oregon.
Yep. And so that sounds like more the norm. But Ben, as any of you know that have caught any of these hunting recap podcasts, Ben has a giant horseshoe up his ass. I'm not sure how he got it in there, but it's in there. And it works really well. This is all
so you have seen what I thought you've seen.
Oh no. I just assume that it's in there. I haven't like seen it. Maybe just on an x-ray that it's in there, that would show up.
Sure, dude.
Ben drew a tag, and we had made this commitment that if like one of us draws a tag, we're both going. It's a 2-week long season. Which a 2-week long season's cool, but it's also 2 days of driving there and 2 days of driving back. So we got like
2 hard days of driving, like 2 very serious long days of driving.
I mean, I don't know what makes them serious versus like an unserious.
We didn't get breaks, dude. You were just like, "Well, I keep going."
Fuck yeah! No.
Yeah.
I don't mind driving though. I'm kind of like, we got to be somewhere. I'll be sitting here. We got to listen to something. We might as well listen to a home service podcast or something. I don't know. Next time though, I do think we should like come up with some books on tape that we want to listen to whenever we have next time we do a Western hunt. We did listen to the presidential debate, which some folks are probably listening to the vice presidential debate right now. I think is that on? It's probably on right now. Not that you should go watch it. This is gonna be way more that could be pretty entertaining, but more like a frustrating entertaining. This will be more fun entertaining. But so Ben Drew, we're going. It's a 2-week long season, like the last 2 weeks of September, archery hunt, and we're
actually the first 2 weeks of September. Nope, I don't know what's happening. Keep going.
Nope, yeah, pretty close to the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
bad with dates and numbers. Math.
It's definitely in September.
And words. He's bad with words too. It's a weird combo of numbers and words. But so we head down. And we don't really, at this point, we don't know Jesse. We ran into Jesse down there, and obviously we became buddies because now he's here, and we're going to Illinois in another month to go chase whitetails with him.
That's right.
So we get, I mean, after 2, like Ben said, long days of driving. They weren't hard days of driving. We're just driving. But we get down there, and I don't know
so much in the car.
I farted a lot in the car on the way down. On the way back, I wasn't too bad. On the way down,
no, but like it was close to just being like, maybe we should just drive separately. You
go get your own car.
Could have just hung my butt out the window. It was bad too. It was bad.
Bad.
I think it was the diet adjustment, because I went from like eating kind of healthy to just 2 straight days of fast food, and it caught up to me quick. And then and we both suffered, but let's all be honest, like you can handle your own. You suffered a lot. Like you were a champ.
Yours was really bad, dude.
Dude, I was terrible. Terrible.
It felt just as bad going there as it did on the way home. But the thing on the way home was on the trailer, not inside the car.
Dude, that head on the trailer. Yeah, that wasn't me. That was you. So we get down. This reminded me a lot of ice fishing. Is like we got there, and we didn't know. We knew where we wanted to get, but in our heads, that was like, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes. Gravel.
Yeah, there's roads all over in this unit, all over this mountain thing.
Yeah, right? And we got Ben's, we got the truck to handle it. We got a friggin' F-350 Tremor. We got Ben's big ass badass small wiener truck, and right, and we're pulling a aluminum trailer with 2 axles on it, and 2 4-wheelers on it, and coolers and all that stuff. And man, I don't know like how far, like the road up was a little bit like, oh, this is kind of bumpy, but we can handle it. And eventually, I don't know, we were like 15, 20 minutes in. And I think I said, well, let's grab a beer. And that was about the time that it got insanely bad.
Yeah.
And we just kept going. We just put on our big boy pants and said, like, we'll just keep trucking. And I bet we were still an hour away from where we were going to go. Like
which is also only like 2 miles, but an hour on those.
It was nuts. It was crazy. It was
the road that you guys decided to camp down is probably one of the worst roads in that entire unit. And I've driven like 80% of the roads, and that's like in my top 3 of like, do not go down that road unless you're just asking for some suffering.
Why were you down there? That's where
because we were asking for some suffering. Like we were kind of just bored and kind of like we just want to see where people would disperse. So that's why we ended up going down that road.
Let's see if there's any out of town jackasses way back here.
Right.
Yeah. So long story short, we got to get to the point where Jesse's at. So long story short, we get in there, we get deep, and now we're running out of sunlight. So we got to set up camp. We're sleeping in tents. We get to this one spot. We're like, oh, it's not a campsite. And then we realize, then we drove around the ATV trying to find one. Then we realized it was a campsite. And
we like left and came back. We left and came back on the ATVs like right at dark. And we're like, oh shit, it is a campsite.
We got to set up. We got to do this now. So we set up.
It was a badass campsite. It was a badass.
Yeah. It was tucked back in there. It was a little off the road. It's right there on like a ridge. It's a cool little place to be.
Yeah, it definitely was. And so we go to bed and drinking some beers, watching some movies, and Ben
brought his fucking
Starlink internet.
Gotta have the Starlink, man.
We were rough with a little bit of Wi-Fi, bad signal, not a good signal,
not a good signal.
It was rough.
Some minor video buffering, and it pretty much we almost had to put a report in. But yeah, so then we wake up the next day, and we didn't want to start out really hard because we had a long day and we were tired. So kind of woke up midday, and man, we tried to go for a hike and do the elk hunting thing. And all I can think about is how much I thought I was going to die. Like I thought it was over.
I thought you were. Like, I was worried about the prospects of the rest of our hunt.
I thought it was over. I was like, I don't even know why we're here.
Yeah, we were both struggling. We didn't. In our defense, we took the steepest. That was the steepest walk that we did the entire 2 weeks.
It was, and it was so like we were. So that was also another part of it. It was very defeating feeling because like we were wiped out, exhausted, we could barely breathe. I'm in way less physical condition than Dan is. I am like 2 Dan,
and I am very average.
Yeah,
like you are a specimen.
You would definitely be the guy that they would pick for the future
mediocrity. Yeah, I'm like the perfect average mediocrity.
But yeah, so we get back out of these hills, and we're just up and down these hills, and it's just like there's just like no, like we see a little bit of elk poop, we're like, oh, there's elk sign.
There was a point in time though where I like rounded a corner and it just the smell of a barn smacked me in the face. I think we just didn't know how to move through the woods. We were like loud. We had no confidence. So I think if you're confident you're around elk, you're creeping, right?
Right.
And you're looking. We were like, bumbling, yabbering, smack talking.
Everything sucked.
Yeah, we didn't know what
Everything
to
sucked.
do.
Barely got out of there. And then when we came out, we were trying to practice our bugles and our bugle tubes, and both of us were like, and like we were like, what is wrong with us? So then I'm drinking Dayquil and NyQuil, like normal style, right? You know, like I thought I had a really bad cold. I'm trying to fight it. And then a couple days later, I was watching a video and it talked about elevation sickness, and I was like, oh my god, that is what we had.
Yeah,
We had major elevation.
we couldn't blow in a bugle tube for more than 3 seconds.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We would be out of breath immediately. We were just not acclimated at all. And I like knew it was a thing, but I didn't know it was that much.
No, I had no idea.
I could see if you were at 14,000 feet and you're like way the hell up, or even over 10,000 feet, but we're only at like 7,000 feet.
I also think that it sucks that I didn't come home. I worked out yesterday morning, and it still was hard. I thought that I'd come home and have superpowers.
Yeah.
Because I was acclimated to the top. Now I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
I thought that would make me stronger. There's elevation sickness. There's no
elevation superhero when you come back down.
Well, what do we call when it's at the bottom? De-elevation.
Yeah.
Powers.
There's no de-elevation powers. You still just suck.
Right. Yeah. And so, where you guys were camped was probably, like 71, 72. You guys were coming from essentially sea level, and then sleeping, no acclimation, then went on a 3-mile hike like that next morning. So
in the steepest area that we could. We're like, let's just go down into this big valley and then come back up and then go back down and then come back up again. It'll be so
right. We're at 830 elevation.
Look at this guy. Gino says
830.
Shnikes.
What's up, Gino?
Gino's in the house. What's up,
dude? I'm gonna be in Orlando in like 2 weeks at a dad conference.
Well, there you go.
Nice.
That was
so
that a little bit. I won't say that like ruined our hunt, but it definitely severely impacted what we did the next few days. Like we were
super discouraged. I was like worried that like I didn't want to like strain myself, hurt myself, get stuck somewhere, because we had a guide coming for the last 6 days of the hunt. I hired a guide, which we can kind of back up on that. Like, so we were all gung ho to do it ourselves because we've done a lot of stuff ourselves. And then once I started looking at the time, money, and effort that we were putting into it, I was like, oh my gosh, like what's another couple $1,000s to guide when we're this deep into this whole thing, you know, and somebody to jumpstart our thing. So I found the only sap that would take me.
He's good though. He's good.
I got a thing for the strays, you know?
Yeah, like which typically is how my life goes. That's usually who I end up with. Somebody that's like,
and Simon, he just, I mean, for Simon to be like, I'll come in midway. Like in my experience, especially in this unit, for you guys to find someone midway was exceptional. That's why when he said that, I thought you were kidding. Like when we initially met in the vehicles and you were like, oh yeah, I got a guide coming halfway through. I was like, I think he's kidding. And then I could tell like, oh, he's serious. He found a guide as he arrived to come midway through a hunt, not knowing him, not knowing necessarily the unit. All right. Like he either has hunted elk or has a hunting experience that this guy believed in or something. I have no idea, but either way, I find it super intriguing.
I think here's my lowdown on it. Cause maybe like 3 months, 2 or 3 months in advance was when we got a hold of him, when you found him. Like it wasn't a lot of lead time. And he basically was like, I don't know, I probably can swing this. And he wasn't even available. He had to like reschedule some stuff to make himself available. I think it was less of like, he's the vendor, but I think it was way less of him selling you and more of like you sold him.
I sold him so hard, dude. I was sending him, like I got a couple deer mounts over there, and I sent him a picture where I drew an elk mount between them, like with my finger. And I was like, help me fill it up, Simon, let's go. You know, like,
my God.
And then when me and Dan were talking on the phone, we were just like, we're all about the experience. And man, did that guy, I bet he'll never forget us.
No.
There
was too much just goofy fun that was had that.
Dude, Jesse, do you know that, like, we have a video of me and Dan pretending to be an elk?
Yeah. I don't know if we sent them that one.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So we had one of your stage 4 cleaner cows. They're all anytime there was a cow problem or like a calf problem, we blamed you.
Uh-huh.
They were your
Because I killed the mom.
Yeah, we're like, oh, it's Jesse's orphan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had this cow that was just dogging us and just all over, like trying to be our friend. And so I was like, I'm going in. And Simon's like, what? I was like, we're going to pretend to be an elk and see if she'll leave. And Simon's like, oh my God. He pulls out his phone, starts recording. And I took my phone and went like this. And then Dan grabbed my butt and was like in the back.
Yeah, I grabbed his butt and bent over so we looked like.
Oh my God.
We went at her.
Yeah.
Oh my
She
God.
was interesting for a minute, and then she started running away because Dan or Simon, someone was cow calling, which we're not a cow. So then I let out a bugle, and she could feel my
non-bullness.
No, my bullnet. She could feel.
Oh, she could feel. Yeah, you were just a big old bull. Pushed her away.
Too much for me. I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah. She thought you were rounding her up. She thought that's the way you told her to go. You know.
Yeah. So okay, hold on.
Oh my God.
So after our near-death experience, we decided to take it really easy, which we did. Basically, turned into whitetail hunting. We sat a lot of water. We slept in a few mornings, not every morning, but and by sleep in I mean like to 8, not waking up at 3 or 4. So
that is definitely sleeping in, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. One, we thought the afternoons were going to be better than the mornings because that's usually how it is in whitetail, which was definitely wrong.
We were thinking that like it didn't pay to sit water in the morning, and so if it's hot out, and it was hot out, and we were thinking like if it's hot out and we're going to hunt water, we're not going to sit water in the mornings. We're probably going to sit water midday, afternoons, and hope so. And we had a 6x6 walk by that we would have shot. We just didn't shot at them, so it's not like
our range. There's a little bit, but yeah,
our strategy wasn't terrible.
Yeah, and well, that was the first day that we sat, or first afternoon that we sat water, so that also really like reinforced that we were doing something right. And then we convinced ourselves that was the same elk that we smelled over in the other spot. So, you know, it's just much like everything in life, especially like business and stuff, where it's like, oh, you are looking for your own answer,
confirmation bias. Yeah, you get
confirmation bias. You know, it's just like, oh, we're doing this right. So then we started sitting water, and then we were probably the only guys in the whole entire unit that were doing it from an elevated tree in our tree saddles. So
I could tell that what we were doing was very foreign to everybody else. When it was the evening that we saw that 6x6, we had 2 dudes walk past us and keep walking past us, and they were at like probably less than 100 yards, but we didn't like let them know we were there. They had no idea we were there. They walked back in the middle of nowhere, and we were just kind of hanging off the side of this tree, like shit. You know, they kind of screwed up our hunt. They come walking back. And they walk back on our side of the water, and I mean they're at like 10 yards, and Ben's like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Like just normal voice. And man, the dude in the front just shit a chicken. Like
he's just like, "What the hell just happened?"
He let a log go down. Like, we thought they saw us. They were looking right at us multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would do if I saw a dude just sitting in a saddle. I'd probably be like, "What in the are you doing, man?" Like
it's a parachute. Like, I got stuck. Like and so like we're just talking to him. He's like, well, we just went over the ridge and bugled, and they were going to actually come back and sit that water. They went and called, and they got a bugle in return. So then they backed out, and they were just going to sit the water and hope that elk would come in. But we were up there, so they left and let us do it, which was super cool of them. Multiple 4x4s and quads went by. Some old dude pulled right up to the water and walked out, and I'm whistling at him, and I'm like, hey, you know, like plenty audible that anybody could have heard. This dude was
this guy's never heard of an elk bugle in his entire life because he can't hear anything.
Yeah, he just couldn't hear anything. At some point, he's 10 yards away, and Ben just goes, "Excuse me, sir," like just in just normal Ben voice. "Excuse me, sir," and that dude like just about did a backflip. Like he was he's like, "Oh, sorry, boys," but just nobody knew.
A lot of good sign in here. A lot of good sign.
Yeah, a lot of good sign.
I'm going to be here, and I was like, "We're never coming back." And then, like 2 minutes later, we see a bull, and I'm like, "We're going to be here every day. You can't come here ever."
How
many did we sit that one more time or two more times. I think we said it the next evening, and then we were like, oh,
never mind.
Our expectations are stupid.
Yeah. So then we did some exploring on the ATVs and in the truck because the ATVs were nice because it handled the bumps better. Did some exploring, did some learning, still kind of kept it easy, and then I was like, all right, it's time to start attacking the locals and trying to solicit myself.
I was gonna say I don't remember if we had seen that bull. Jesse, you might remember because we just passed you on the shitty ass road and then started BSing with you. And I don't remember if we had told you the story about if we had seen that bull already, we would have told you and been like, holy shit, we saw a bull. We were so freaking
I told him about the cows that we saw, and that was on an ATV, I think, after. And I also think that when we met Jesse, we were on our way back from our first shower.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can't remember. I just remember you guys gave me a pin to where you saw like a herd moving south. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, they generally, will try to move that way once they start getting pressure from Camp Navajo. And then I don't think you had mentioned anything about a bull, but you guys had said that you were sitting water in a saddle. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. You guys are like talking Chinese or something.
Are you guys homos?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, like you wearing a diaper or what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I don't understand. But whatever, that's cool. You like to see homos naked, whatever. Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, so either way, I was like, okay, cool. Thanks for putting this on like a herd moving south. That's nice. Because I hadn't seen anything. Opening day, I've been hunting this unit. This was my 7th or 8th tag in this unit. And I've never been skunked on opening day as far as at least like drawing my bow back or seeing elk or whatever. And I got totally skunked. I did 11 miles opening day. And I didn't even see an elk. And I was like, all right, well, everything I know is a lie. And, and then,
there's no
yeah, like, yeah, this place sucks, And so then, my buddy, then my buddy and I were like, hey, let's just go drive around the unit. Let's see kind of like what the pressure's like. Maybe we're just seeing some weird pressure and the elk aren't here yet. Because if they're not getting pressured, they don't go to the area that I normally hunt. So the area that we normally hunt is because they get pressured into that area. So maybe people aren't just pushing them, whatever. So let's go drive around and get an idea. And then, yeah, we see the F-350 coming down the road. Window rolls down. I was like, man, this guy's going to try to talk to me about something. And sure enough, he's like, hey, you guys see anything? And we're like, no, we haven't seen anything. And he's like, oh, we just saw a herd. And I was like, what? Like this dude probably doesn't even live here. And he just saw a herd of elk. And I've lived here for freaking half my life. And I got skunked on day one and I hadn't even seen an elk. Like
basically,
I was like, man, all right. And then we had some people like coming behind us and it was a little annoying, but it's a nice bumpy road. Apparently everyone wants to drive it.
Away from him. And then the third time, Jesse was like, all right, we'll see you later. I was like,
no, yeah. Yeah, and you were like, hey, yeah, give me your cell phone number. I'm going to text you. And I was like, I wonder if this guy is actually going to send me this pin. Because if he sends me this pin, then I am going to go check it out and see. And sure enough, like I got like just enough signal, got the pin, and we went like mid-unit. And then like there were some other guys that had said that they had saw a herd. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe that dude does want to like try to find some elk. And he's just getting kind of beat up and he doesn't really know where he's at. Because he's in a really shitty place right now. And I was like, where these guys are camped, they either know something I don't, or they are really, really lost. And I was like, they either know there's some monsters.
Neither. We just are conditioned to know that you got to go to places nobody else wants to go. And then you're going to be in them, except we weren't in them.
Except
to a place nobody else wanted to go.
Yeah, so in November, like if you guys had a November late archery tag or like a, let's say like a late rifle tag, that would be the place to go. But they don't go there because the snow level there is actually a little less than where like I end up taking you guys, just by enough that the vegetation changes. So they end up pushing into that area. But like during the rut and during September, they would never really be there. And that's why I was like, man, I wonder if these guys have someone running cameras or something. But no, you didn't. You just thought of that place being really nasty. So let's go there.
I was gonna say we have again, we're like conditioned based on whitetail hunting that like the whitetails will show up. There's so many of them. They will show up wherever the pressure is not. So you end up hunting the people.
Sure.
Ice fishing is the same way. Where we ice fish, it's like I just need to get away from everybody else. The farther you get more away from everybody else, the more success you usually have, just because you're the only show in town. So that
and I think your guys' logic was on, but you're just in the wrong side of the unit because that's why I hunt where I hunt, but that's because I know that they get pressured into that area. Whereas the area you guys went to, they don't want to go there because there's no current vegetation that they like, not until like late November or whatever, when like the oaks start to fall in that area, but they don't fall until late season there. And that's just a couple of 100 feet of elevation change, but that's all it takes is like between the sun exposure and the elevation, that area is not what they want until that late season.
Except for that one 6x6. He was
he had something. He had some hot cows and he was content.
I don't know if he did. I think he was a loner and he was like, shit, I need to go find some hot cows.
I think he was traveling. I think he was like, I'm done with these people over here. I'm gonna go over to these people.
Yeah, and he could have just been a satellite bull moving on and trying to find somewhere to go. Yeah, for sure.
He was nice. He wasn't huge. I think he was definitely a satellite bull. But he was nice enough for us. We just sent one at him. But I think it was the classic, like, and we don't know why he buggered, but he was at like 90 yards. And when I saw him, it was like last light. When I saw him, I shit a chicken. I was just like, Ben, there's an elk back there. And I'm like, he's back. And Ben's like, where? I'm like, he's back there. And then I turn and look, and the son of a bitch is just looking right at me. And I'm like, oh,
dang.
I was just like, my huge white hand was just up here, like waving the surrender flag, like, what's up? He's back here. And then I look back and he's looking right at me. I was like, oh, yeah, of course you would have seen that. Like, why would I keep me moving? And Ben's sticking his white paper plate face around the tree, like, where is he? What's he doing?
Yeah.
And we were just so pumped, like, holy shit, we saw an elk and it had antlers. Like, we got too excited.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, for that experience, just for you guys to see an elk within the first couple of days like that, I mean, in reality, that's a win, especially as far as like Western elk hunting goes and sitting water and coming from, the Midwest and stuff. I don't know. You guys considered Midwest?
Yeah. We're right in the heart. We're right in the heart. We're Central Midwest, North Central
Midwest. Yeah. So like, especially for coming in kind of pretty much sight unseen and blind, for you guys to have that experience is super cool.
Yeah, we were pretty pumped.
We're proud. Felt like we did something lucky.
Things started getting grim, and I was like, "This is stupid. I don't know why we drove all the way out here. Now you're having your regret."
We're whitetail hunting for elk. What are we doing?
Right.
This can't be right. Nobody else is doing this. We must be idiots.
Yep. And so we realized that being the different guys wasn't necessarily maybe the right thing right now. So I was like, I texted Jesse and I was like, man, there's no elk here or some shit. And he was just like, oh, there's blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what he said, but he's like, he invites us to go camp with him. And I'm like, oh God, we're going to end up some weird camp with a bunch of weirdos. And I'm like, well, who's there now? He's like, I'm not there right now. I'll be back. He lives close. And he's like, I'll be back. He's like, well, who's there now? Or something like that. He's like, it's just me. I'm just the only one camped there. And I was like, oh. He's like, my wife and kid might be there later. I don't know. But yeah, you're welcome to join us. And I'm just like, well.
It's a setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
He clearly wants my elk knowledge. So I'm gonna rethink it. So I was like, all right, we're coming. I was like, let's go. So we loaded up. We did use, that's one thing that we did one day is we used the ATVs to
find a way the fuck out of there.
Yes, find a mildly better way. So we did end up finding a lot, like 3 times as long, but 200
faster,
times less bumpy and faster.
Right.
It was farther, but it was way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go right out of your camp, and it's way better than going left.
Yep. And so we saddled up, did that, got set up at the next place. Was Jesse there the first morning? Yeah, because we were sleeping in the hammocks, right?
Yeah, I think I got out there either late that night or like I got there at like 3 a.m. that morning.
In that morning.
Yeah. I woke up. So me and Dan ended up sleeping in hammocks after day 1 of the tent. We both hated it, so we went back to our hammocks, which we used in the Boundary Waters.
Dude, those hammocks are so
I just remember like
so nice.
The first morning Jesse came and I was like, woke up and I'm like, hey Dan, he's like, yeah, and I was like, is Jesse here? And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, Does he want to sleep more?
I was like, are these dudes still asleep? And I remember I like got there and I like turned on the lights on the camper and did my normal stuff. And I had some stuff that I had to take care of because I knew Amber and Max were going to be coming into camp later. So like I wanted to get the camper all set up for them so that way they didn't have to worry about anything. And then I'm like sitting there and I think I like lit my fire pit. And I was like, I'm looking at the clock and it's like 3:45 or 4:15 or something. I'm like, man, these guys are still asleep. Like, I'm usually getting to where I want to start hiking by like no later than 4:30. I was like, all right, well, I think I'm gonna have to go like wake these guys up if they want to go hunt with me. And then right then I saw Dan, he was up and I was like, hey, you guys getting ready? And he's like, yeah, I think we're on our way. I was like, oh man,
I don't know about this Ben guy.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, these guys got to wake up. Like, I don't like to see my trail with sunlight at all. Like, I've never walked this trail in 7 years, being able to actually see it. And and then like
coffee and me and Dan just go right to the camper where it's warm. We're like, let's hang out here and talk for a while.
Yeah.
On this warm coffee here.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was so funny. And like I think I lit the fire pit. You guys came over, we talked and everything, and then I kind of let you know like what my normal plan was. And I think for me, the thing if I had a bull tag, I probably wouldn't have been like so nice to you. I probably would have just been like, I've been like, hey, go over here, yonder, but like you guys had a bull tag.
Great area you're in right now.
Like
right there.
Yeah, and like I love elk hunting in general. So like if I can be with someone that has a bull tag and have more encounters with elk, then I'm on board. And because I had a cow tag, I was like, well, even if he's calling in a bull or I'm calling in a bull for him, I'm going to have more opportunity to learn more about elk. And cool, that sounds like a win to me. And also like this dude just drove like 20 hours in total, so he should at least get a couple of encounters. He's put in the work. He showed up. He's here. It's not like he's crying about it. Let's just go and put him on some bulls. And I also love the bulls in this area that I normally hunt. There's really, really good genetics, and I just love the animals in there. So if I can get an opportunity to get closer to them and once again just kind of like create more of a log for myself, then let's do it. And you guys, when I told you, I was like, yeah, we're probably hike like 6 to 8 miles. And I think at first there was a little hesitation, but at the same time, you guys were like, oh, we did like 3.5 miles our first day or 4. And I was like, all right, well, yeah, it's not going to be like what you did. Probably going to be a little different. It's going to take like all day to do 8 miles. It's a little slower and kind of like the pace changes, right?
Yeah.
So
it was entirely different. It was
entirely different. Yeah. So I think like your guys' mentality toward it, I think is what drew me in. I was like, okay, cool. Like we'll see how the first day goes and see how they do kind of midway. And of course we have like a couple of smallish encounters that day and show you kind of guys the area. And
cool. We got in there, elk bugling. Didn't get a pullback on anything, but like immediately we got to the meadow where we had multiple encounters, elk bugling up, elk bugling down. And that was the first time Ben and I had like been in the middle of bugling. And it was like, holy shit. What do we do? Do we go this way? Do we go that way? we didn't get a plan or anything, but like we were in the mix. We did a setup. We tried to call stuff in. And that was when it felt like we were really elk hunting. Like we're calling that stuff. We're making moves. We got this guy, Jesse. He knows some shit. We're just going to act like we know some shit too. And he'll do whatever he says. And we had that cool encounter. And then we like moved farther. And then we were just BSing and that cow ran up at like 40, 50 yards. And it did blow my mind. Like a whitetail doesn't do that. You just don't have a whitetail come scooting by you within bow range and watch you move and watch you pull back and be like, what's going on over there? Like that whitetail is a mile away by the time you do that. And that cow was just curious. She like saw us a couple times and then she just kept going. Like, maybe I'll just scoot around these guys. Maybe they just want to hang out.
And it's different with elk. Like the wind is such a huge factor. And I think a lot of people underestimate the power of the wind there because elk are so large. there's really no predator that can take down like a full-size cow elk like that. So they're not really scared per se. They view predators in a different manner. Like obviously they don't want to like put themselves in danger, but if it's nothing that's going to like cause them immediate harm, they're going to kind of check it out. And so when she was coming up, she obviously heard us and she kind of just kept moving forward to get a better eye. And then once she saw that there was like, hey, there's 3 figurines over here that are doing something. Okay, cool. I'm going to split. But she never smelled us. So she probably still had no idea what we were.
Yeah, she was just kind of like doop a doop a doop a doop. I'm gonna go this
yeah,
way. She wasn't
and
like,
she knows.
Oh,
yeah, and she knows she has like a 9-foot stride. Like once they start running, I mean, so it's almost their full body length in a single stride. So head to toe in a single stride. So these guys are they're scampering up this hill like nothing.
Yeah,
I think that might have been the hardest part to like. I understand it. It wasn't foreign, but you just can't catch them. Like
No.
and part of it is like we just don't hunt whitetails that way anyway. So you wouldn't catch a whitetail either. They
Right.
just run.
Yeah.
But elk, they seem like they're walking and you can't catch up to them. And it's just like you don't have until they're right in your face, you don't realize how fucking big they are. And yeah, that stride is for real. Like if they're walking and you're running, they're at least as fast as you.
I don't know that we saw any elk at any one point like fully run.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I don't think we did. Like I've seen whitetail like go max speed, but never once did one of these elks. I mean, we got that weird
the gallop, the prance. Yeah, we got the prance.
Yeah,
that was cool. We got to talk about that encounter too. That was a fun one. That was maybe like my favorite encounter was when Simon called in those calves, and then we had a bull come in and we hauled that.
Yeah.
Down.
When he was
Jesse was already tagged out for that one. I think Jesse was already
I was already tagged out, and I think you guys went out the next morning.
Yep, it was the next morning. We had all kinds
of our guide showed up. Crawford Guide Service. Dude's awesome. Great guy. So much fun.
He really was
supposed to be here. We were going to try to have him on, but he's tough to coordinate with because he's out. I think he's out with his kids right now. He's out hunting with his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a cow tag.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, I was in contact with him. I told him to go and hang out with this Jesse guy, and he's like, yeah, go get in there with him and whatever. And he was like, yeah, I'll join you guys at your camp because Jesse invited him to come, and
which was super cool.
Yeah, right away. Simon
for that.
Simon got there when the 3 of us were hunting, and so then Jesse's wife and son were there and helped Simon get set up, and Simon was just really impressed with them and said they're great people, and then met Jesse and me and Dan, and it was a cool encounter. And they were like, all right, what's the plan for tomorrow morning? And he's like, well, you want to see if he wants to come with us? And I was like, really? Because like we paid Simon for me and Dan to be
right.
I wasn't in a place to be like, hey, can this other dude that I just found it's like
I know this guy, he's a great dude. I've known him for 2 days.
Right.
Yeah, and so, but then Simon was like, yeah, I mean, he's got a cow tag, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, then just have him come with. I don't care. It sounds fun. And I was like, okay. So like that first morning was so fun because Jesse had a lot of firsts as well. Cause he's like, yeah, like I remember like the first time we went out with him, he's like, yeah, you never really hear cows calling and stuff like that. Like I've heard a cow call like 3 times in my life,
right.
And dude, Simon started calling for us with this bull encounter that we had. And it was like we were in the herd of cows.
It was 1,000 cows.
I thought it was a hunter. I was like, there's no way a cow is calling this much. This is ridiculous. Like, this is kind of actually funny because they're calling so much. Like, this is what the heck? They do not call this much.
It was,
and
walking through the woods with the mew, 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 mew.
Yeah, the double hoochie mamas. I thought there was the double hoochie mamas going on. And I was like, these guys are rolling in their grave right now because I just told them the cows don't call like this. And these cows are over here just yapping it up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a hunter in here. Like, this is crazy. So I kind of like sat back. Like, I was just like, this is ridiculous.
I think Simon's just a hot broad. He knows how to sound like just a hot broad.
He's a good looking cow. He
was calling. We'll get to the story. He was calling in cows the one time, and then a freaking mule deer doe came running in. Ben made the joke. It's like, dude, you're a Disney princess, man. Like,
Yeah.
this is coming for you.
I sent the video to my wife, to Emily, and she was like, "Oh, it looks like a Disney movie or something like that." I was like, "I know."
Right.
Like, but yeah, no, like that first minute that Simon was there, and he's like calling him, and then we actually had a really good bowl, which I think is the bowl that we kind of ended up with.
The elk head remover Ben.
Yeah, we had
It
a
had
bowl
to
come
be.
in.
It had to be.
I was listening to Simon's instructions where he said, "Stand by the street." I was like, "Okay, I don't know, Mr. Elk Man, I'm gonna do this."
I'm on this tree. Here I am.
You know, and so Dan, I was like, "Shut the fuck up, Dan. Shut up." Simon says, "Stay."
I'm like, man, I think we need to go. I think we should go at it. But
Yeah.
we're both like tentative. It's like we want to hunt what the guide says. He knows.
Yeah.
We probably could have, in hindsight, we probably could have moved in and maybe made a play.
Or at least scared him away, you know what I mean? But like we definitely should have moved in some, you know, and so that was interesting. And then Simon came over.
And then we asked Simon about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, go for it." He's like, "Fuck."
And even Simon was like, "Yeah, I should have probably told you that. You heard me say stay by the tree, so you just stayed." I was like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah, I did.
You know, like, fuck me for following directions for once in my life. You know, like,
right.
Of all the people to follow directions,
Yeah.
it's like, no, he
Yeah.
wants to stay here.
So also at some point we need to start talking about the items. I became very skilled at finding items in these woods.
I think it started with Jesse though, because Jesse had even said like, "Oh yeah, there's all kinds of cool skulls, and you'll find this and find that." And so like the first time we started walking with Jesse, I don't remember which, like one of you guys found something cool, and then the item.
Well, I found that skull, that bolt skull at Lost Lake. That was the first thing I found that was cool.
Right.
You're right. That was after we knew Jesse, but before we started camping with Jesse.
Yep.
Right.
But yeah. So then Jesse's like, "Yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff." Also, hold on. Let's step back here. When we first walked in this area that Jesse was with, me and Dan were both like, "Oh, there was elk poop everywhere."
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like,
like you can't step on ground without elk poop. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one morning that I fell asleep in the dark when me and Dan, actually the morning after you shot your cow, we went in and I fell asleep on the ground while we were waiting for light, and I wake up, nothing's going on, I go back to sleep, and I'm just like rolling around, and then like it became really bright. I wake up and then we decide to move, and I'm like, "Oh man!" Like there's a huge poop, like a big old poop.
Rolling around in poop.
Yeah,
It was dry.
Man.
It was dry poop. It was Arizona dry. It wasn't like it was fishy.
Right.
But yeah, like we're like, "Oh, this is what elk sign looks like," you know. And it was just like, so we had to encounter Simon with all the cows calling, and then it just felt like then every morning and night, like it was just like we were getting into them and having fun and doing weird things, and Jesse was there with most of it. We had a couple encounters, nothing super great. Well, Jesse was with us,
Right.
And then why did we separate that one? Oh, that was a water, right?
Well, so I had you guys go up to where like up near the ridge, and then Amber had gotten a flat tire. So Amber got a flat tire.
That was the first time we actually but just with Ben and I were there.
It might have been even day one still, I think. I believe it might have even been like day one with me. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to give you an area. Just get there as fast as possible." Because by then it was almost dark. And my wife had called me and said, "Hey, I got a flat tire. I'm still away from camp. I have your dog. I have your son. And it's going to get dark." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I think I got to go." And
no, you weren't like, "I think I gotta go."
You were debating, and Ben was like, "Dude, I think you probably gotta go."
I was kind of debating, because like the only reason why is because my wife would also understand, because she's awesome. If I said like, "No, I'm elk hunting,"
I'll come and get you.
Yeah, or like, "Hey, there's enough other dudes on the road, like they'll get you to camp, like you're pretty hot and like you're like looking good, you're out there trying to change a tire, like you're gonna be just fine." Like, and my dog Opie would bite someone if someone was like being mean, so like I wasn't too worried about her. But at the same time I was like, "Oh, I should just not do that." And I felt
like I could hear it in your head where you're like, "Man, I don't want to just bail on these guys." And then you hung up, and I was like, dude, I think you should go do that.
Yeah, you did. You talked me into helping my wife, which is cool because she appreciated it.
Like, so I don't think I talked you into helping your wife. I think I talked you into not helping us.
Yeah, into not helping you guys. I felt like I put you guys in a good enough position. I don't think I could have done anything more. So I was like, hey, there's a good spot up here. Just walk up there. Once the sun starts to go down, there's going to be elk all over the place. Just kill one when it comes to you. Yep. And yeah.
So he takes off. Me and Dan are walking, and we're just like, I don't know. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. And then all of a sudden, we see a bull, and we're like, oh.
No, I was walking behind you. You saw it, and we both just like hit the deck. You're like,
yeah.
Like we both just like, we don't know what to do. Let's just get real small.
Like our legs got higher than our bodies for a minute, you know. Like, yeah. And so then we start making a move on it. I don't know. Dan's just like, since Dan can't shoot the animal, his contribution was very heavy in the fact of calling. He's like, I got to call.
I'm gonna call this baby in. I'm calling him in.
He's like calling. We're trying to get position on this elk. It turned around.
We had interested. I was just way too close to you.
Yeah.
It was so open. I needed to be like another 100 yards back at least, but I was just way too close to you.
But what it did do was give more confirmation in the fact that Dan's a great caller, because we called in Ryan, who is the elk hunting version of Superman. He comes up over this knoll, because like I'm going towards this Ryan dude, because I kind of
wonder. Hold the phone. Like we heard it was a 5x5 that we would have shot that was
Cinco.
Out there.
Name is Cinco.
Which we had which Jesse and I could have shot another time when the next morning when Ben ran after other elk. Jesse and I had Cinco at like 70 yards. I think it's the same 5x5. Not huge, but we just shot it. Cinco. And so that was that elk, pretty sure. And then there were other elk farther off, and the way the topography worked, like they couldn't see Ben until they came to like 30 yards. Like there was a rise in the topography. And so we thought we were like calling this in. And there were two bulls. One of them happened to be a dude named Ryan bugling, but one of them was the bull that he was chasing. And I do wonder if he wasn't chasing those elk, I think we would have called that bull in.
Yeah. So hindsight with the Ryan guy, right? Ryan comes over the hill, and I'm kind of in front of him. He's like, damn.
Yeah, I called this dude into like 30 yards from Ben.
Yeah.
And he still wanted to come and shoot me. He still wanted to come and shoot me, even after you're like, no, that's my buddy.
Well, so then Ryan like falls back. He's like, you shoot, I'll call. I'm like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. You do it. I'm going to go back there with Dan. You know, it's like, calling, you can't see Ryan with me. And then Ryan's like, let's get that one. I was like, no, that's my human friend.
You to shoot him. He sucks. I rode down with him. He smells bad. Yeah. That guy.
Like, no. He's like, let's go. And I was like, he's like, I'm Ryan. I'm like, I'm Ben. We've been seeding water. I don't know how it came up, but like, I'm like, we've been seeding water. We don't know what we're doing. He's like, you got to get on the hoof, catching up. Let's go. And I was like, I just started. It was like there's how children get kidnapped. Like they're just like, hey, I got some candy over here. We got to go right now.
He's like, I got some milk. Let's go.
Yeah, Ben got kidnapped by Ryan and just left me. He waved.
Yeah, in my head, I was like,
waved at me.
You're new Dan. Your name is no longer Ryan.
It's new Dan. Let's go.
Yeah, you're my new best friend Dan.
You know, like you got a hammock to sleep in. And then finally I look back and Dan's got my backpack and his backpack and he's like trying to catch up. And I was like, you gotta and new Dan is just like, let's go. And he's just like running. He's like, okay, fuck it. You guys go that way or you guys go that way and I'll go this way. And we're like, okay. And then we just see, like, we chase them. It was so much fun. Dan's calling. He's getting the bulls interested. Like, there was a couple of, like, great encounters. It was just, like, so exhilarating. I'm sprinting through the woods with this bino harness hitting me in the face.
There was a moment, and that was the first time I was like, holy shit, we're going to get a fucking elk. And it happened a couple other times. But I was cow calling at that elk. I could see Ryan bending around one way. You were 75 yards up in front of me. That elk was maybe at 150, but you were kind of kitty corner. So I think you said you got to about 100 yards of it.
Yeah.
And the cows were still moving, but that bull was just eyeballing me. I don't know if he wanted to kill me or if he wanted to have sex with me, but I was like standing behind a tree, just meow, And he was so interested, and I just couldn't. If I would have had Simon's elk decoy moonwalking,
Right.
we'll get to the moonwalking story, Jesse. I don't know if you've heard the moonwalking story yet, but
Nope.
dude, if you have a cow decoy and you moonwalk it, they fucking love that.
Yeah.
You just gotta take her backwards a little bit, and they're just like,
Yeah.
that baby moonwalking. They're all about it. If I would have had a cow decoy moonwalking it, he would have held there long enough. He would have shot his ass.
Oh my god.
Next time.
Yeah. So now, like, we kind of are like, we're done. Me and Dan are chasing these guys. We're like, one of the things we heard is you can't catch them, right? You know, and like,
And you
and
can.
these elk are moving. You know what I mean? Like they're getting pressured. They've seen people. And also we got a lot of season left, and we got a guide coming. So we're like, let's stop. I mean, we're just sprinting.
We kind of felt like we won. We felt like like we were just like, dude. I remember like we were walking down that trail that night, just fucking chest out, like we are elk hunting. We
Like, I was like,
we're getting close to bulls.
trying to get at me. Like, it was ridiculous. Like I was a piece of meat, man. I was
Slotting off the
king of the
hottest.
jungle.
Yeah.
But before we went down the King of the Jungle road, Ryan, like we both look back, and this dude is just like chasing the elk down. Like he's going to town. He's bringing them all the way to the end of the earth. So we're just like, whatever, and we leave. Me and Dan go back.
He stuck with them. I mean, it was getting dark, and what did he say? He stuck with them like another hour or two.
Yeah, and also that's the other reason why we stopped. He's like, I don't know why you guys stopped. When we ran into him later, he's like, I don't know why you guys stopped. And I was like, because it was dark.
Yeah, like you can't shoot him anymore. Like, why chase him around?
Right. Like he's like,
Right.
well, I'll put him to bed. And I'm like, how's that working for you? Because I'm also right here the next morning. So then that was the next morning when they had the encounter with Stinko, and I was chasing the other herd of elk. And then I got up a hill, and I got duped again by Ryan because
he called you in.
Well, Ryan didn't call me in. But what Ryan did was, I thought Ryan and his buddy were you two following me. So I'm just like, going. And then they're trying to chase me to catch up to me to tell me that, hey, your other buddies are on a bull down there. You should go down there. And I'm just like, they're behind me.
It was and I think this is another like business lesson learned. You know how I always love to pull business lessons out, but Ben, this is something you've reinforced in me like to the 10th degree, which is communication is just so fucking important.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't like, it's cool if you can read each other's minds, but don't expect to.
Right.
Ben had moved up to a wood line. Jesse and I were maybe 50 yards back, but Ben was just out of sight, like just over a little bit of a hill. And so there's elk coming up perpendicular to all of us, and Ben sees that herd. It's getting pushed by Ryan and his buddy Dylan, and so Ben goes after them. Meanwhile, there's other bulls bugling down below us, and I see that bull coming, and I'm like, Ben, and he's already gone. And that's our, like, we're out of, I can't wave at him, I can't do anything. And I call this bull in, and now I'm confident in my sexy cowness. I had that other bigger bull very interested in me the night before. Now Cinco comes running up to 70 yards. I'm hiding behind a tree. Jesse's up behind me. He's calling. I'm just hiding. I don't know. I probably look like a freaking little fetus, Jesse. I'm like hiding behind this tree, like,
I thought the bull when he was working up that little like drainage, where I killed my cow literally probably just 20 yards from where you were sitting behind a little tree. Right there. But like where he was working his way up, I mean, he was going to come right to you. And I was just like looking for Ben, like, oh man, where is this guy? What's he doing? He's chasing this herd up a hill. Like, what is he doing? He could just be sitting here right on a road.
We got this tasty satellite hanging out, just ready to be killed.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I can't believe these guys are just backing me. I don't know why we're going up this hill so fast. I gotta go faster than them. This is my tag, man. I got to do this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was funny. So I come back down. We ran into another dude. We chatted for a while.
Yeah, that's the day we ran into Pat, right?
Yep. Yeah, I ran into old Pat. He's been hunting there since 78.
We ran into him again with Simon on the last.
Oh, nice.
Oh, actually, yeah, the last morning. And then these other two old dudes came like right by that water hole that we saw the camera on that first day.
Yep. Yeah.
The camera was gone.
On the wallow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
just
okay.
dried mud. It was just dried mud. The camera
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went down to look at it in the that last morning just to check it out, and we run into Pat, and then these other two old guys come. I mean, we saw them coming down the fence line for a long time, man. And then they stopped behind a tree there, and they were like,
"Oh no, it was the second to last morning. Last morning, yeah, it was the last morning we heard
right,
next to us, but it was the second to last morning down in there.
And then finally, these old guys are sitting there. We're talking to Pat, and I'm like, "Hey, I can see you." And
yeah, they like hung up at 15 yards and stopped behind a tree, but we're like not right behind it. They were just like standing there, like whispering. And Ben just can't avoid an awkward situation. He's like, let me just bring this to the forefront and make this awkward for everybody, but also make you feel really stupid for making it awkward in the first place.
Hey, right.
You're not that sneaky. I can see you. these guys like got red in the face and like waddled over. They were like embarrassed that they were trying to hide from us. It was pretty.
They should have been.
Oh my god. Yeah. They should have been in saddle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So then what? So then we had that encounter. That's cool. Felt like winter. I probably found more items.
I think we got to do the morning that you passed up the Raghorn 5x5 and the encounter of the bull right in our face where it caused you to go by.
That same morning.
Oh, that was that the second to last morning? I thought it was the third to last morning.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still the same morning.
Not the same morning we saw Pat.
No. But we saw those two bulls in the same morning.
Yeah. But we got to talk about that one. We saw Pat the next day, and we'll get to the finale story. But I think you should go through your version of.
So this was the day after Jesse shot his cow.
Was it? Did we have those two bull encounters with Mason, or was it the day after Mason? Because the day with Mason was a little bit slow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we had Mason, who was like interviewee for guiding for Simon, and he was cool, young dude. But like clearly knew how to hunt some elk, and we had some interactions with him, but I don't think we got close to anything. I remember that evening being real slow. I don't know. I think it just seemed slow. We were doing all the same stuff, but then the next morning, I think it was just you and Simon and I, and we just kind of went right in the middle of it, and all of a sudden it was like, and we went in a little earlier, and all of a sudden it was like, oh God. We have alcohol all around us, and it's like pitch black out.
Yeah. Like we were like waiting for it to get bright, and that's another spot that was one thing that was wrong with my bow sight. It had no the fiber optics on it were garbage. It just doesn't pick up much light. So like even in shooting light, it was hard for me to get light on them.
Yeah, like in the with my rangefinder, which picks up shit for light, I couldn't quite get a range on it for you. But like with binoculars, it was like broad daylight out. And I remember, and I think you ranged it, and we had a range on this bull at like 80, a little under 80. Like it was a shootable elk with your shot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could have shot it, and my pins were pretty light. I could have made it if it was a big bull. I think I would have made it happen, but he was a little bit little, and we did go there mostly. Like, I mean, we wanted to shoot an elk. That's definitely part of it, but we wanted to have an experience. We wanted to learn. So by shooting the smaller elk kind of ended the guide, and we were like, well, we want to absorb some more stuff from this guy, you know? It's like, you know, you always have these little things in your ears when you're making these decisions, and I was like, let's pass. Let's wait. You know,
we
like
still had 2.5 days left, right? Or 3.5 days left.
I think 3.5.
Yeah.
So then we walked around. We did sweet stuff, found some items. I'm sure other skulls, other items. I ended up finding one time when we were walking through the woods after Jesse shot his cow. I found the cow call that he has that I looked for at a store earlier that week.
The same brand, the same type, the same.
And I'm like,
and it was my cow call.
Yeah, well, that's not part of the story yet, dude. You stole my cow call. Is what happened. So
yeah. Ben found it fair and square, and then you claimed it. You claimed his item.
We find it, and then we have this ZZ Tops guy that we ran into a few times that's looking for a down bull, and he just looked like he was lost and know where he was going. He said that
I don't know. I can't believe he didn't have. He had no phone, no tracking thing that we. no OnX, no any base map, base camp, any software to help him grid search. He was just wandering the woods looking for a hideout.
Messing up dude's hunts. And so he just walked by, and I pick up this call, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, yes, I've been wanting this one." And then
it's exactly the one that Jesse has. I really wanted to get this.
And then Dan and Simon are like, "Give it a blow," and I was like, "No." Like, come on. And I was like,
yeah.
And I blow, and then Dan goes, "Yeah, that's probably that ZZ Top Guys one." Like, yeah. It's weirder when you know the guy's live that
that dude hadn't showered. That dude hadn't showered in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I blown it. Sound like shit. Whatever.
Yeah, it didn't sound good. It sounded good when Jesse did it. Didn't sound good when you did it.
No,
right.
No. So we're jumping ahead of the other bull encounter. But so
hey, wait. Look at this. Cole's in the house. He said, "I'm so glad I could easily picture all this in my head."
Yeah.
Cole, I got to talk to you about Illinois. If you're coming to Illinois, we got to know about Illinois. What your plans are for Illinois? I'll text you.
Don't ever interrupt me again. With your comments. So hold on. Let me just
refocus.
Okay. So then we walked out of the woods with this call, and this is like days later after the bull thing, and we'll come back to that. But I walk out and we go back, and Jesse's like packing up his camp because he's done. And I go, "Yeah, look what I found." And he goes, "Oh, cool, thanks." And he grabs it out of my hand. I'm like, "What? No, no, like."
No,
I found
Jesse didn't know. We brought it up to him as if like, hey,
I thought you found it in my camp. Like I thought you found it like over by where my truck is or something.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah.
Jesse pulls it apart and he's like, "Oh, cool, interesting. The thing is inverted. The same, like they don't sell them like this. I just do it this way with mine because I like how it works better this way. It's funny that you found one that's set up the same way." And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, we found fucking Jesse's cow." Like, I was
like, "Okay, yeah, like I just been wanting this, but yeah." And then I go to hand it to you. You're like, "Well, no, man. I mean, if you found it, you found it." And I'm like, "Well, let's be honest. Like, I'll probably never use this thing again, anyways. Like, I might not ever get it out cut again." And I was like, but you do need to let me know if it's yours when you get home because all the stuff's packed away. And sure enough, he gets home. He's like, "That was actually my cow call." And I'm like,
yeah, like how in all of the world do you find this? Like, what in the heck?
I want to iterate one thing here, which is Ben is, I don't want to say a gamer, but like loves games, loves video games, loves board games, probably like board games to the extreme. I don't know anybody that loves board games as much as Ben does. Like not Monopoly type of board games, like intense, thought-provoking board games. Ben spends more on board games than I probably have spent on all of the hunting things that I own. I think that's actually fair to say. Like tens of thousands of dollars. Easily. Easily. Don't think about it. You have tens of thousands of dollars of board games. You do.
Yeah.
You have walls of them, and they're awesome. They're cool. But one thing that's very common in games like that, in video games, is that you acquire items. And so like Ben walking through the woods turned into a video game of like, "Ooh, I found an item." Like that in that same area, he found Jesse's cow call. He found a Sharpie marker. He found a chapstick. He found 5 skulls. And so it just became a running joke of like, "Ooh, I think I found an item." And like there's 3 of us walking together and Ben found everything. It's not like we all found some shit. It's like only Ben would find items. It's just
and then it became a joke where it's like, I got to think of running after these elk, and I'd be like, "I think there's some items over here. Let's go look." And we'd go look for items.
I forget exactly how you positioned it because we got to talk about Simon calling in those fucking calves. And I think you had said on the way back, you're like, "Oh, I think there's some elk over by the truck. We should go look over there."
Oh, yeah, that was one time. Yeah, I was done. I was bored. I was like, it was like around lunchtime. I was like, "I think there's some elk by the truck. We should go check it out."
Yeah, and we should probably go back by the truck. And then sure shit, there's some elk there.
And there's just a bunch of elk, and Simon's calling them in. Let's go back to the bull story. So we passed on the raghorn. I don't even know what happens between that and now we got this bull. Simon's with us, which we didn't think we were an elk at the moment. And then all of a sudden there's a bull coming right at us.
Hold on. So let me connect the dots because I do remember. So the herd went by but it was in the dark, and we just weren't close enough. We didn't get eyes on anything, but we saw him moving away. And as they went away, that raghorn was like trailing everything. Little raghorn 5x5 was trailing everything. That was the one where it was daylight enough out that we could have shot it. We didn't take a shot at it. And then we like followed this herd for probably a mile. And Simon was a little more strategic about it than Ryan was, right? Ryan would just chase after him and bugle at him and just keep bumping him. Simon was like, no, they're going to stop. And we just want to like be close enough that when they stop, we can suck something back out. And so we stuck with them. And we got down into the pines, down into the timber. Like we cleared all those meadows, and then we got down into the timber. And as we were working our way down, kind of side hilling them as they like arced around, and we chased them down into the wind. I don't know if that bull was already down there or if we finally like sucked it back. Oh, we lost Jesse for a little bit here. I think he was like already down there. I think he was a satellite bull, and he was just in front of the herd, and that was where he was hanging out. And he heard us coming. Simon cow called a couple times, and we were like side hilling the herd. They were south of us, but that bull that we ended up calling in was really southwest of us. And it was one of those, it's funny with elk hunting, they're freaking huge. Like these animals are huge, but even with three of us, I remember being like, oh fuck, he's coming. And Simon was 20 yards behind us, and you said, where? And I'm like, I don't know, like 100 yards away and closing. I mean, like he's coming, and he's huge. I mean, huge to me, right? He wasn't as big as the bull that we found, but he was all of a shooter for us. He was better than Cinco. And he's coming right at us. But it's so like, it's funny how even that big of an animal, if you're 2 feet this way or 2 feet that way, they can disappear. And so like, I'm watching him, Ben doesn't see him. And I'm like, we got to get down. And we're like flagging back to Simon to like tell him that we see a big bull, but it didn't work out perfectly. Simon was probably like too close to us, that the bull was a little more on alert, because Simon was only like 20 yards behind us. Just this bull turned and came at us all of a sudden, and we weren't expecting him to come at us. You take it from there, Ben.
And he's coming at us, and like now I see him, and Dan's like reading off the ranges, like thank you, but it was just very stressful because you're like 20, 82, 79, 64, and I'm just like spinning this dial.
I don't know what else I would have done.
No,
like,
you did great. It just
like I know you had a dial. Like I had to keep giving you the distance.
Yeah, but it just highlighted how much this sucks that I have to dial this in.
Would you rather have me been like, and you're like, how fucking far is he? Like,
no, you did the right thing. Please do that again next time. But it just like in the moment, like it really made me realize I'm just sitting here spinning this dial. Why are you gonna ask me if you got freezing, man? Go ask Mom. Oh man, I feel like I'm getting set up here. No, it's 9:14. Drink of water. You had ice cream today, bro. I'm in the middle of doing important things. Yes, you're gonna be okay.
Charlie, go to bed. Go to bed, Charlie.
So, anyways, God,
just so people understand, like on a bow sight, you've got a bunch of different pins for a bunch of different distances. Ben had I say had very intentionally. He had a 3-pin sight with a 20, 30, and 40-yard pin. And the 40-yard pin had a dial so you could take it all the way out to 100. Like you could move that pin and crank it, and it was sighted in all the way out to 100 yards. There's other sights that are just a bunch of fixed pins, but some people don't like them because they like cloud up your view because there's so many different aiming markers and it gets confusing. Right. So Ben had a 3-pin floater.
We call it a 3-pin slider.
3-pin slider.
Yeah.
So 3-pin slider, sliding it, and then right when the elk was at like 45, saw, jumped back. Simon cow called, got it to stop, and I was already at full draw, and it stopped like right behind the trees, and I could have probably moved over and shot him. I mean, I should have, but I also was so like it's so much different than a whitetail. It's not like you just covered like 5 or 10 yards. That dude went like another 20 yards.
Oh, look at it's Opie. Did you see Opie? Opie is a good boy. He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. That's a good
yeah,
dog.
This dude covered like 30 yards. And I was like, I have no idea where to aim. Like I didn't practice for guessing of range at all. And so then I kind of just froze and sat there. And then he walked away.
Like you shouldn't have to, right? Because like I should be able to give you a read and if you have your dial set right, but the tricky thing is like if you have your dial and you're pulled back and then he moves, now you're like, what is my dial set for? And is he how far away from that is he? And if I'm at 55 but he's at 65, what does that 10 yards mean versus 35 to 45 is a totally different 10-yard drop.
Yeah. And I have a slider too, and I've contemplated moving it for this exact same situation. And like, it's always a tough game because I've had them come into, so I just have a 2-pin slider and I usually set mine on 30 and 40. So I have my top pin on 30 and then my middle pin or my bottom pin on 40. But yeah, it's always tough. And I've missed shots because of it, especially at water when they come in at like last light and you think you don't have time, right? But you do always have time. Elk aren't in as much as a rush as you think. It's how you react to them. But man, in the heat of the moment, that slider can feel like it's debilitating. Like you can just be like, man, if I didn't have that, then everything else would have been different. But I've killed a lot of elk with and animals just in general, like with my slider now that I've gotten confident with it. But man, it can get the best of you. And I've definitely contemplated moving to just like a fully fixed pin. And I know exactly the feeling that Ben had there, like just being lost in your sight. And you're like, oh, I should have moved it 20 yards down or whatever. It's so tough.
It's such a hindsight 2020 thing, man.
So tough.
I didn't want to move because I was like, okay, if I move and actually spook him, now he's even further. And now, like, he's not even going to be in my reticle. It's going to be like,
right. He'll be way out.
You know, and so I didn't want to move and bump him more. So I was like, if he just moves across there, I will shoot him if he's at this exact range. You know, in hindsight, I probably should have waited till, like, if I wouldn't have even drew on him and had him jump back, and then Dan was like 52, I'd be like, bam.
Right.
You know, but
yeah, it's hard. Everything adds up all at that moment. And yeah, it's really tough. And but you know, now that you have your fixed pin, you're going to use that solidly, I think, and then you'll have your system in place. But I think you can be super effective with a slider. It's a different dynamic while you're elk hunting. And even like with my elk, I knew that I had to sit there for a while. Like I could have shot at her way sooner than I did, but I like now, you know, you got these fancy watches and they do all this cool stuff. And I never shoot my bow with like a super high heart rate. Like usually I'm out here in my backyard shooting with like a heart rate of between 76 and 85. So when I saw my elk, I just sat there and was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here until my heart rate drops as low as possible. So I just sat there and it took 20 minutes after seeing the elk, getting excited, hiking, etc., for my heart rate to drop under 80. And then I was like, all right, I think I can take an 84-yard shot. I've only done it like a handful of times at a range, but I think I'm good. Like she's there. She's the size of a bus. She's huge. And yeah, let's see how this goes. But yeah, I think it's always different. And bulls, when they come in too.
Let me back it up here because we got to get your cow story in here. When you encountered that cow, was it like on the walk-in, or were you kind of like hanging out where you like to hang out and just kind of watching, and then you saw some elk moving? Give us I don't know if we got that full play-by-play from you. I know we didn't on this podcast. I don't even remember if if Ben and I got it in the moment from you. Was it on the walk-in you encountered them, or what was that? How did that encounter go for you?
No, so it's kind of similar to one of the stories you guys had just stated. But so I started walking in on the road that I normally walk in on, doing my thing. It was a little earlier than what I normally do. Normally, I don't even start walking that road till like 4 p.m. and just get out there and only have like an hour to walk in, and then you have a ton of fun in the evening. But I got in a little early. You guys were going to do your own thing. I was going to do my own thing. So I started walking in. I was walking in, and then like 100 yards from the fence, I see this bull come across with an arrow sticking out of its belly. And
Yeah, like
you know,
right by the parking lot.
right by the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. And nothing I could do. He was on a mission, but yeah, I mean, he had a arrow sticking out of his belly, and so I'm like, well, that sucks. Someone took a bad shot, whatever. And then I get up to the water hole, and then ZZ Top comes out, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, hey man, like, where'd you shoot your bull? And I'm kind of like just seeing if it maybe this is his bull before I give him a lot more information. And sure enough, I'm like kind of thinking it's his, but not really sure because he's telling me kind of mixed stories.
I was gonna say
And
it was weird talking to him about the bull versus your story and like where we found it. It was just like, I don't know if it was theirs.
yeah, and I'm kind of like mixed on if I should give him the information of where this bull is and everything. And then he says he has all these people coming up from Buckeye and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Like, and then I just told him, I was like, hey man, I did see a bull, but the arrow was not coming from the side you're saying. I'll just tell you that like right away. So I don't think it's your bull. Like if you're saying you shot it from this direction, it's not your bull. And he's like, no, I shot it from this direction. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then this isn't your bull. I'm going to move on. And he's like, all right, cool. Thank you. And that was the end of the conversation. So then I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So then I get to the water hole and I'm walking. And immediately as I get done talking to this dude, I blow out a whole herd. They're bedded right there where I had taken you guys on maybe like the second or third day. And we sat down for a while. Like while it was still kind of dark. I don't know if you guys remember that. We kind of sat down for a while with the open meadow going up to the ridge, like Black Pass. And sure enough, this whole herd, I mean, it had to be like 40 or 50 elk. They were bedded in there. So I'm walking the road and I blow this whole herd out because the wind is just rushing uphill. So I'm just watching this whole herd just run next to me. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Well, there goes my whole evening.
There goes that.
Instead, I think I'm going to drop back down to where we had let
me hit one thing here for the non-elk hunters, because even whitetail hunters don't have an appreciation for the way thermals work.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I don't know if it has to do with the higher elevation or what it is, but it's not like it was that steep of a slope. Ben,
no.
We should really pay attention to this in Illinois. Like we're in Mississippi river bottom. But those hills are bigger in Illinois than what we were at in Flagstaff. Like they're more abrupt. I'm really curious to see if the thermals play the same, but in the morning when the air is cool, like you can feel air sucking down. Like
yeah,
right?
but
Coming
it's
down in
also
the morning.
it's a lot different in Illinois because like we were like on a mountain and it was more like a steady up. You know what I mean? Like a peak rather than like a bunch of valleys. I mean, there's a little bit, but like the troughs and drainages in Illinois are 1,000 times more.
They're more abrupt, but they're more varied, right?
Yeah,
but they got to still play. Like, it's got to.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Jesse, one of the things you said is like you can feel the air rushing up, and in the afternoons when it's hot, the air is rushing up. Like you can feel that thermal pull of like hot air wants to go up, right? But in the mornings, like, you can feel. Doesn't matter what the wind is doing. Like you literally feel the wind coming down with the cold air. Like it wants to suck down.
And in the afternoon, it's just pulling up, no matter what you're doing.
It's real.
Yeah. And so like I blew that whole elk herd out. So then I just sat there for a while and I was like, all right, well, I think I'm going to go back down to where we had the encounter with Simon. He was calling. They really like that vein. And I'm going to just go in there and see what happens. So I'm walking down. The sun's awful. I have shadows like casting all the way over. The sun's like almost down at this point. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. And I get down there and sure enough, I see a calf. And last year I killed a calf at 30 yards. It was like second to last day. It was actually my last day of hunting. I killed a calf. She tasted delicious. We ate her in like a month.
That's meat.
But it was awesome. But this year I really wanted a bigger cow. I wanted to fill my freezer more. And so I saw this calf and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to shoot another calf, but also it's probably the last full day I get to hunt, so I'm probably going to shoot a calf. And sure enough, I wait there for a little bit, and then two bigger cows start feeding out down that ridge, and my heart rate at that point was like well over 90 or something, and I'm like, oh man, I can't shoot at 84 yards. So I'm just going to wait and just see what happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And then sure enough, 20 minutes, I'm just sitting there watching this cow feed right in the open broadside. And so yeah, I took the shot and she jumped my string. But the nice thing was is because of that bowl area where I was at, she actually thought I shot from the opposite direction, like that big thick tree line where Ben disappeared into.
Yeah.
And so
the reverberation of your
yeah. So she actually kind of haunched back and then looked up into that tree line. And sure enough, my arrow just sunk into the back of her head. And she stood up and fell over. And that was it.
super efficient, which was, I don't know, 50 yards from the road, maybe not even.
Yeah, between 50 and 60 yards from the road. And yeah, I had texted Simon. Yeah, I texted Simon, let him know where I had her down, and he got there. I had her cut up other than one quarter and the head, and so he helped me cut the last quarter off, and then I cut her head off, and he helped me pack her up to his truck, and we were back to camp by 7:30.
Dude, it like I know they're big animals, and I know I'm a whitetail dude, and so there's the variance to reckon with. But when you had like the size of the quarters didn't surprise me. I was ready for that. The size of her head,
The
it
head.
was your tailgate. It's like it's not a foot long. It's
No.
like 2 feet long.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
massive.
It's like a monster largemouth, like bigger
right.
than monster largemouth. It's I can't just. What's up, Lucy?
Oh,
Yeah,
It
my friend
just
Jesse.
that caught me by surprise. Like the size.
yeah.
of
No, they're big
wow.
old animals. Yeah, she ended up weighing 177, all cut up, quartered, everything. So the processor estimated around a little over 400 pounds on the hoof. So yeah, over 400 pounds, and she was an older cow. She was definitely older. Once again, the processor said like probably between like 5 and 8 years old. But yeah, I mean, she was an older cow. But yeah, she was a good size. It was a lot of fun, man.
That's cool. That's cool. And
And I can get 100 and so, I'm gonna get between 90 and 100 pounds processed. I actually pick up the meat tomorrow, so it's gonna be between 90 and 100 pounds processed.
heck yeah. And we had some tenderloins at camp
And heart.
and some heart. It just doesn't get any better than that. Just chowing down on some red meat.
Yeah, we cut out both tenderloins there on the spot and brought them back to the table, and then the heart. And Dan, you cut up the heart for us, and then yeah, we cut up the tenderloins and threw them on the Blackstone of Simon's and ate them that night. It was you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's good eats. I love whitetail tenderloin. Elk tenderloin is better.
It was better.
It's just better. I don't know. I can't put a finger on exactly what makes it better. I don't know if Jesse just cooked it better or if there's a little more fat in it. Bigger.
It's always better when someone else cooks it too.
It's gourmet. My brother-in-law has a saying for that. When anybody makes anything, it could be mac and cheese, and if somebody else makes it for you, it's gourmet, dude.
Yeah, anyone else makes anything for you, especially a steak. Like someone offers to make you a good steak, like doesn't even matter if it's overcooked a little bit. It's still better. Like it's just the way it is.
Still gourmet.
Yeah.
No, that was cool to know you and to have hunted with you, and then to watch you have success. Like you're a cool dude, and you're the right type of people, and to see, I mean, you were on another level after you shot that.
Right. Oh
Like,
yeah.
You were just jacked up. Your wife was pumped. Max was crawling through the fucking stairs of Simon's RV. Like, everybody was just at another level.
Yeah. And he's like asking about the elk. He knows that I just killed one. He's 3, but he knows. Yeah, he's just stoked.
Yeah, he was super pumped.
It's just super cool. It's super cool. To
it was awesome.
Right? Like it just feels like you were part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Ben and I didn't get one. Ben didn't get one. I wasn't gonna get one. And
you weren't gonna get one, yeah.
I wasn't gonna get one, but unless I like tackled it. But just to be a part of that with you was just that makes
super
it.
fun.
That makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, but I feel like shooting a cow is at least as hard as shooting a bull. Because you can't, like, we called some calves in, but it's hard to call a cow in. You can stall them out for a little bit, but a bull you can get by itself sometimes. A cow is with 20 other sets of eyeballs a lot of times.
Right. Yeah. And that's the hard thing with cow hunting is usually you're dealing with a lot of sets of eyes. And with a bull, you can get lucky that they can come into, that call and the calf call or whatever. But yeah, I mean, cow hunting is just as tough. I mean, a lot of people say it's not. A lot of people say it's harder. Whatever. I just want to hunt elk every year, whether it's a cow or an elk, and I have more success hunting cows every single year. So I'm gonna continue to do that because I just like being out there as much as possible. And I
Dude,
live
it's so cool.
35 minutes from where we camped. So like for me to draw that tag, this was year 3 in a row and year 6 out of 8 that I've drawn a tag in there. So I can just essentially hunt elk of some kind, shape or form every year or so. Yeah, I just want to be out there as much as possible. And that's the way that I can do it. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Ben, I want you to take us through when Simon was a Disney princess, because that was freaking hilarious. And then that was like the first time I stayed back with Simon and you went after one. And that I'd love to. I didn't ask you about your perspective of that chase. I stayed back. That was one of the few times that I didn't go with you.
Oh, like during the Disney princess moment, yes, I was.
Yeah, because we ended up getting on a bull too. Eventually, like in that encounter, and then I stayed back and you kept going. Like I was the in betweener on that one in a way.
So the Disney princess thing was pretty sweet. Dan and I were still ahead of Simon for a little bit, and it was just like it literally felt like a Disney princess like mock movie where like Dan and I are there and like we're trying to move, which happened multiple times where Dan and Simon were back and they'd be like, keep going. And I'd be like, everybody is looking at me. Everybody in the woods right now is looking at me. There was 40 cow elk looking at me and they're like, right. So I'm like, okay, but yeah, like it was this moment where Simon was calling and we had Jesse's orphan calf running around looking for us.
Yep.
And it was hilarious. Calf first saw us, me and Dan, and was like, whoa, I'm out here. And then Simon called again. And then it was like, oh. And Simon has this decoy, which we haven't explained. The guy does a decoy, which is like this like cloth.
Oh, yeah, we totally got to talk about the moonwalking one.
Too. Yeah. So he's got this decoy, and he holds it up. This guy's like got to be able to do this thing for 900 years. You know what I mean?
He's got really strong forearms. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but the dude's got some forearms.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of time alone in the woods, Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
So he's holding up this decoy, and so like these elk, they get fooled by it, man. They're just looking at this thing like, huh? Like this is a cow. This cow is not moving. I don't know.
Is a cow, and now it just bugled at me.
Yeah, that was also fun when the cow would bugle. They'd be like, what?
Yeah, they couldn't resist. They had to go check it out.
But yeah, Simon had Jesse's orphan calf, Jesse's distraught sister,
right?
The sister of that cow that Jesse murdered, and they're all running around us. I think there was 3 like cow elk around us, and then we look over. Then there's a female mule deer, and there's like rabbits jumping at him, and it was just like this is like a Disney princess movie.
Everything's coming in. He's just
yeah. Don't forget about the squirrels. I'm sure there's some squirrels in there too.
The birds were going bonkers. The birds were going.
So then I can't remember if we just got like up and moved on.
Easy, Ben. We
end up getting away from those guys, and then all of a sudden we start doing, which just happened to us multiple times. We're like we're walking like it's diagonal, but it's not. But we're like quartering into the wind, and I'm just next to the bull like 150 yards, and I'm just like doing all I can to try to like cut him off a little bit, and it just like every time that it happened, like I'd be there and I could hear these guys calling, and it was really cool when Dan started falling back too, because then it was like there's multiple cows in different places behind me. This is awesome.
We had nice cadence going, meow, meow, meow.
Yep.
It was it's cow part.
I just never could catch him. Like multiple times, I'd be chasing these dudes, trying to.
He stalled out. That it wasn't a big bull. I think it might have been Cinco actually. Stalled out. It was Cinco. It stalled out a couple times, and I thought you'd get close, and then it just didn't. We just didn't quite. I mean, that was the hard part too. Is like the timber was not that thick. Like it was pretty thin, and it's hard to like. They're looking back.
They definitely know how to put the timber between you and them. Like they understand cover probably better than I do.
Well, and especially their vitals too. They can just like hide their vitals, and like even if they poke their head out or whatever, they're so good at it, man. They do this for a living, right? Like they're good at what they do. They're good at staying alive.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. That was a really good experience. But let's jump to I'm gonna pass out on you. So let's jump to the moonwalk story because Jesse doesn't know that one.
Oh, the moonwalk was a good one. The moonwalk was such a good one. There were multiple times. Let me just set this stage. There were multiple times. Ben, you're more emotional than I am. Like, and especially with being the one with the tag, like you'd be up and you'd be down. And when you're down and like whitetail hunting, I feel like when you're down, you're like, there's so many of them. It's just a matter of time where one walks by. But elk hunting, when we're down, we're like, the herd's not here.
I just
that could have been it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they all went that way. There ain't shit around.
They're never coming back. Yeah.
And so there was an afternoon hunt. I think it was maybe our second to last or third to last day, but Jesse had already tagged out and we're up in the same area and we had bumped this herd. And then we bumped another herd. That was the one where, and then like you're super demoralized. Like we pushed one off and then we started moving at another one. And that was one where Simon was like, yeah, get in there. And I'm like, no, don't go in there. There's no, like it was one of those where Simon couldn't really see, but said, go ahead. And Ben's like, I got to do what the guide says because he says, go ahead. And I'm standing in the middle like, I don't know what to tell him, but I don't know how the hell he's going to get over there because all it is a wide open meadow and the elk are 80 yards over there. They're going to see him plain as day. And like 3 cows saw him and then the whole herd bust. And it was like, fuck. Like I felt like that happened to us a lot where it's like we just weren't quite on the same page. And Ben and I didn't have the confidence to tell Simon like, no, dude.
No. Yeah.
We got to hold back.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like the green light is not on, man. It's it's a reddish yellow light at best. I ain't gonna push it. Like they're moving. Let's let them do their thing first. And so that was the second herd of the night. Like it was a good night. We had encounters, and then we were kind of like, let's start working our way back to the truck. And we're bumbling. We're not.
I think I said again. I actually think I said again. I think there's elk back in the truck, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay, here we go."
That was the time where you're like, "Hey, I think I heard a bugle back by the truck. Let's go check that one out." And like, so we're working our way back to the truck. There's still daylight, but we're feeling disheveled. We just bumped 2 herds, and we're walking, and we're all together. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, "Oh shit, there's an elk!" And it's 100. It saw us too, but it's maybe 150 yards.
And I try to tuck over to this tree. And Simon goes, and the elk decoy's out.
Yeah.
And he's like, get behind the decoy. And I'm like, huh? He's like, get behind the decoy. And I'm like, this is going to be great.
Yeah. And immediately he's like, get behind the decoy. Dan, you stay here and call. So now I'm the caller. Like Simon's going to go with Ben with this decoy and I'm staying back and calling. And like, I felt like he coordinated that situation really good on the spot. He's like, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing immediately. Like this elk is 150 yards away. I got it in my binos quick. And I just said like, it's a bull and we're game on. Like we didn't, it was just, it's a bull, game on. Let's go.
So I get behind, so I was like, get behind the decoy. So now we're hand in hand, which in all, like all reality, I should probably have been back here.
The decoy ain't big enough for Ben and another dude.
No, it's a small decoy.
Yeah. And so he's holding it. And we're just walking, and I'm just like trying to get a pointy arrow on and trying to get my rangefinder out and trying not to step on the rocks and trip that I can't see because there's a cow decoy in front of me. And I'm just like, I'm doing all the things. I'm a hunter. I'm hanging out with Simon, my new best friend. And all of a sudden, like, I feel like all 3 of us recognize at the same time. All of a sudden, we're going like this. We're going like we're angling off to the side. And all of a sudden, Simon flips the decoy around. Because we all realize the decoy is now moonwalking according to elk.
The decoy is the wrong way. Backwards.
Oh no,
dude! And then beyond that, like I'm the taller dude, and the head is over there, so it looks like this elk's coming at you with 2 heads, anyways. Just
right.
Like, and so he flips it around. So I'm trying not to laugh, And
I'm at this point, I'm probably 100 yards behind these guys, and I'm laughing. I'm like, I can't hold it back because I was watching for a little bit, like, oh shit, that decoy's backwards. Like in my mind, I'm just like, I don't think it matters. Like,
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't know, but we definitely have to switch it around. So yes,
it matters.
So we got to like 86 yards on that guy, but then as I started to kind of move a little bit, he just jumped away. But I mean, it was one of my more favorite moments when it was just like,
oh my God.
Like, there's something that Dan and I have recognized in our hunting trips, and I do think it goes across a lot of things.
High correlation, ridiculously high correlation.
When we have fun, when we do something for fun in the hunting world, we often do very well. Like, like when it's just like, let's go, just be fun. We're gonna hunt, but like the focus is to have fun and just enjoy ourselves. Like good things happen.
Playing cribbage in the ground blind when we're
that one didn't work.
That one didn't work, but we were having fun. We were right in the
middle. We're having fun.
Actually, I didn't have that much fun because you beat me 2 games.
Yeah. or when we were on top of that mountain that we thought nobody was ever going to go to, and then everybody started showing up, and then I was throwing peanuts in your bugle tube.
Yeah, you got a peanut M&M right down, just like Plinko style, just
dude. And it is weird, like reminiscing on all these moments because like there's so many of them, like we haven't even shared half of them, and I'm like that we were there way too long. That was nuts. That was a long time.
No, you guys put in the work, and that's why, like, I don't know if you're going to get to the finale of your guys' hunt, but like, like for you guys to send me that picture, and then I think Dan said, no, we earned every bit of this. And I think like that resonated with me because you guys did earn every bit of it. And your guys' experience of elk hunting was exactly what I would wish upon like a first-time elk hunter. Because you shouldn't kill like a big bull your first time because fuck you. Like I've done this for a long time, and like you shouldn't kill this massive bull like your first year. So like for you guys to do all of this work and everything, and then in the way that it did, that's like it makes me so happy because you guys get to see how hard this Western elk hunting is. And like how much work and how many miles. I mean, did you guys calculate how many miles you ended up doing? I ended up doing a little over 94 miles during my hunt. So you guys ended up doing probably a little over so 95. So like 95 miles, like that's crazy. And for most people, they don't do that in maybe like half a year, maybe. So I don't know, like, you guys can finish up on that, but it was so cool for me because I felt like you guys did deserve every bit of it.
Let's jump to the final. I think we can bring it in. We can go over some other things, but just because it's got to get said, and it's so cool. So multiple things, right? We went through all this work. We learned a lot. We enjoyed ourselves. We got the experience done. Met some cool people. I found items everywhere.
You did find how many? Did you count how many like skulls and jawbones and whatever else you got?
5 skulls and like 4 jawbones.
And I told you, like this unit just has so much fun stuff in it, man. Like I love this unit. I find so much cool stuff in it. But I found my first elk shed, which I actually have over here.
Oh yeah, that was another thing where he's like,
that's the third thing that Jesse got a cherry popped on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the elk shed that I ended up finding. Super cool. He was a little 5x5 and a bunch of squirrels had eaten him. And then I found this cow skull that my son ended up painting for me and doing some glitter and making a big old mess for. So now they're sitting on my front porch and, super cool. But I've never found an elk shed in 6B. And, I found this guy. So super stoked on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
you're welcome. We're glad we could guide you to
Thank you. It was 100 yards from my camper, but
so it's the last day. I'm tired. I'm ready to see my family. I'm ready to be home. And I feel that from Dan. I even, and I not really, but like I feel like I want to help get these guys home, Dan and Simon, and it was going to be the hottest afternoon there was. this is the last day of the season.
And it was clear. It was clear at this point to me that like when it's hot, they don't talk.
Yeah.
And they don't move. And maybe they'd come into water. Maybe.
But I don't think in this unit very much, just because it's such an active, like there's roads by everything.
There's roads by everything, and there's water by everything, and then you can go there at night. Like,
yeah, and so in my mind, while we're walking around, we're kind of doing a little bit of exploring and just going up and down this ridge. And in my mind, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, there's just if I just be done now, I'm doing it on my own decision. Like I'm not gonna. It's not that I mean, sure, I still didn't shoot an elk, but like if we sit here tonight and we don't shoot one, it's gonna really suck. And
yeah, we lost 8 hours of drive time, 8-9 hours of time we could have been close.
Yep. And then it would have put us at a weird time getting home because we would have had to wake up, drive for that whole day. Who knows? You know, it might have pushed it out to having 2 days of hotels. You know, like it might have timed it out weird. Mm-hmm. And then there was something to just like controlling my own fate and be like, I'm done. I'm satisfied. I don't need to do anymore. Like nothing good is going to happen. And so I was pretty much done.
It felt like a lose-lose in that if we would have stayed and not shot one, well, that sucks. Like we just wasted 8 or 9 hours. And if we would have stayed and shot one, neato. Except now we have like a half a day or another day of dealing with it. And now we're for another 24 hours, and it's like which would be fine if we shot one, but a bit like either way.
It's a whole nother level. You got to break it down. You got to cut it up. You have to process it there, and then put it in your freezer, and then like
some degrees out. Like it was fucking hot. I mean, it was.
Yeah, so you got like a 4-hour window before an elk goes bad. Yeah.
And so I said that to Dan, and like me and Dan were talking while we were walking, and he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm just ready." And he's like. It took Dan a minute because he was like, "What? No." And then he was like, kind of processing. He's like, I get what you're saying.
And then eventually I'm like, "Hey, are we going home yet?"
Yeah.
It was like maybe an hour between me being like, "Oh man, I feel like we should hunt. We're out here," to being like, "Hey, you ready to leave yet?"
Yeah, you ready? We done? Yeah.
As you process, you're like, okay. I also kind of agree with it. Like when you step back being like excited hunter dude and be like, what makes the most sense for our lives? I mean, we put the effort in. We had the experience. We did everything we wanted to do except for shooting elk, which is what we said was the least of our like focus. We wanted to learn to elk hunt. We wanted to learn to have this experience. We wanted to have this experience. So I was like, let's end it kind of positive. Like, let's just go. Nothing good seems like it's gonna happen tonight. So then I told Simon. Simon was like, "What, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, but you know what? Like me and Simon both lost a glove, and we thought it was down by where your cow was." So I was like, let's go down there and see if we can find some items. And Simon's like, "God damn, okay, let's go." You know, like let's go.
So, I guess we're looking for items. Fine. Here
we went. We walked all around looking for these for the gloves, and you know we're taking a little bit. We decided to go directly to the truck, so we take a little bit of a weird way. Also, kind of like, well, maybe we'll bump into some elk because we've seen them over here, right? You know, before. We're walking, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my god, you smell that?" And they're like, "No."
I mean, we're like 200, 300 yards from the truck.
Yeah. And
we're not far from the truck. We're not far from where Jesse was like, "Hey, I saw an elk run through here with an arrow sticking out of it."
Yeah. And so
was it on the right side of the road or the left side?
It was on the south side of the road.
Yeah.
See that, and that doesn't make sense to me at all, huh?
Because you saw the elk run into the north side of the road, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so I smell this death, and Simon and Dan don't smell it, and then I'm like, nah, something's over here. And so I kind of tried to follow my nose, and Dan kind of went more.
I like bellied around you downhill, trying to like go into the wind, and then I picked it up. Like then it just hit me in the face. It was like
and I'm walking, and Dan starts peeing, and then when he looks over, it was right when I saw these we both saw these birds fly away, and I was following my nose, and Dan's like, "Oh my god, a bunch of birds just flew away there."
Vultures, it's got to be right there.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Holy shit!" And I came around the corner of these little woods, and there's this huge bull laying there, all tore up. You can tell coyotes been getting into him. Smelled to high heaven. Just big bull that was shot in the hip, in the right hip.
Back right hip.
way back hip. So that dude had a tough life.
Oh God.
Yeah. And so we're sitting there. Simon comes up, and we're just like, huh. Here I am with my bull tag. The end of the season. The guys that we think might have been looking for it gave up.
Days ago.
Clearly, whoever was looking for it did not look. Like, if you shoot an animal like that, it's your job to find the animal. Like,
Yeah.
You find that animal, and like Dan said, he's like, if that means a few days from now, you're looking for
you're looking for birds.
Like, you look for birds.
You're looking for birds. Yeah.
And so whoever did shoot it didn't do it enough justice to find it, which whatever, might have been someone inexperienced and not super knocking them, but they were no longer around. And I'm like, do we tag this? And we're like, I don't know. Let's go get an ATV and think what we want to do here. And we're racking it through.
Which that was like a 15 to 20 minute drive back to camp, and we just debated the laurels of everything on the way back.
We're like,
right.
Try to find take it. Like, I'm not a trophy hunter, so I love a set of antlers on the wall and stuff, but like that wasn't what it was about. So it was like, well, I want the meat more than the head, but like the meat's super bad. So,
we're not taking that meat. We ain't taking that meat.
And so even Simon's like, like legally you can't take it. You can't take a dead head with fur on it. But if you're tagging it, and he's like, I do know that like if somebody shoots an elk and then it runs by you and you shoot it and you do the final blow, it's your elk. So
correct.
So I was like, you want me to put an arrow in it? And he's like, he just laughs. And I'm like, I'll shoot it. I'll put an arrow in that thing on the ground right there.
Simon and I are like, hell no. Do not pop whatever gut.
Yeah. Like, you don't need any guts or whatever.
Whatever smell bubbles going on there, please do not.
Shit. And so we're just thinking, and we're like, well, how would we get a hold of this person anyways? And you got to tag it by the end of the night. Otherwise, they don't let you tag it,
correct.
Once it goes to the next season, it's over, and so I'm just like,
that was the last day. There's no time.
And there's no, the place pretty much vacated out. There's no one around, and we're trying to decide what to do. And then we get back to camp, and Dan was the authority that I needed. He's like, I say you just get on the ATV, take a Sawzall, go cut that thing's head off and put your tag on it. And I was like, So I did it, man.
That's what we're doing.
Went over there, cut the nasty head off this elk, put my tag on it, and it is it will be named the bull that we never killed.
It's cool, man. I sent you that video of it, Jesse. Like, it's an 8x8.
No, it's a big old bull, man. Like, that's like a classic, really good genetics for 6B. That's like what we look for in that unit, and like those genetics have been growing in there for forever. And I love those big front like little knockers on that thing are really classic of that area. So yeah, no, I'm super stoked you guys found that guy and that it's going to be hanging up in Ben's house. Like, it's going to be super cool, man.
It's got the super dark horns, like you said too, with like dark,
right,
dark, and then just like white ivory tips. Like,
there's something specific to that area that just has those dark horns, those white tips, the heavy bases, and they're not huge. Like, if you were to measure that thing, it's probably only like a 330 or a 340 bull, which is still a big bull. But, like if you got like a unit 8 or a unit 9 bull, those things are between 350 and 390 all day, but it's still an exceptional bull. And once again, it really just everything that embodies 6B, that bull has. And that's why when you guys sent me the picture, I was like, oh man, that is something really cool for you guys to take home and look at. Like, you're never going to forget this, and you guys are going to remember it forever, and you'll tell your kids about it and everything else. So I feel good about it. I think it's awesome.
I feel good about it. At first it's kind of weird, but then the more you justified yourself. But even just the ride home was hilarious. We'd stop at gas stations and people would be like, yeah.
We were fucking celebrities on the ride home.
Right.
The gal driving the ice cream truck wanted to have sex with us for sure. She was trying to have sex with us. Ice
cream and outcast, let's go.
Yeah.
My God.
like, and all these people were like, oh, where'd you get that one? And I was like, well, I tagged it in Arizona over there. Like that. I did tag it.
Yeah, we had to keep our language very sincere. We tagged it.
Yeah. Tagged it.
Language. We tagged it.
Yeah, tagged out in 6B. Yeah, tagged out.
So it was such a cool experience, man. Like it was, and the business side is we didn't even talk about the fact that Jesse owns a business, and that was very interesting. We realized that after we started chatting with him, we're like, oh yeah, we own business too.
Right.
We do.
Yeah, I think I think it was funny because I kind of explained what I did, and you're like, oh, hey, we're all kind of living the same life. It was like, all right, cool. We all own these small businesses, and we're all out here hunting. And I think that immediate correlation, it didn't hurt.
I don't want to put any pressure on you, Jesse, but you and I got to do just a episode just nerding out on your business. We'll schedule in the next month or two and just catch up on your business. If not, maybe we tag some big ass whitetails in Illinois and do it there. Or Ben and I did an episode from Illinois last year, and we were under some influences, and it was really fun. We'll see if we do a live episode from there this year. Ben, bring the gummies. It'll be a super good time.
Yeah. No, that sounds good to me, man. I'm all about mixing it up. That'd be fun. And yeah, I'd love to talk more about like the business side of things and everything. I mean, obviously it's why we all do what we do, so we can do stuff like this, and that sounds great. And yeah, I can't wait for Illinois, and I got everything lined up on my end. So, and I ordered my saddle. I went with Ben's saddle and got that thing coming. So from Tethered, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man. It'll be a ton of fun. It's gonna be a ton of fun. It won't be miles and miles of hiking. Like if you got to go a mile in, that's probably too far. We'll probably be like,
right.
It's a long way, Jesse. I don't know if you feel like walking that far.
I'll be like, hey, there's a big old cow over there.
I think day one, Jeff's gonna be like, I tried that saddle thing for about 20 minutes, and then I just decided to walk around.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try to stab some whitetail with a bow on the ground.
I feel like I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, Jeffy walk by, and you're gonna be like, yeah, he was just over here 2 hours ago. And like,
he's going commando. He's running around. He's rolling in molasses and trying to get something to lick him. He's going for it.
Oh man,
it'll be fun. We'll get you in our Midwest world a little bit.
I know. I'm excited.
Like one of the episodes where we like on a TV show where they watch their own TV. We could in Illinois.
Hold on, Ben, shut up. You got to get closer to your microphone because we can't hear you when you lean way back.
Okay. So,
try again.
In Illinois, we should do one of those things where we, like, when we get back, we should have to do a viewing party of the podcast that you and I did there.
We should, we got to watch it and articulate and critique our
podcast. At one point, we're like, you really took your beer and you didn't even know?
Yeah, like, you switched beers on me, and I was like, oh shit, I drank my beer. And like perfectly on the podcast, I don't think I realized it. Like in real life, I didn't realize it until well after the show. Like on the show, Ben swapped beers, and I was like, oh damn, I drank all my beer. I didn't realize it. And Ben kept like, he didn't even keep that straight of a face. I went back and watched it. You were like laughing, and I had no idea. I thought I just like guzzled my beer out of
yeah.
We should do a mystery. What is that? Mystery Science Theater 3000 or whatever, where they would like critique other shit. We'll do that.
Oh my god.
Well, shit. All I know is without Jesse, I don't know what the hell would have happened. Right? Yeah. Like Simon might have showed up and said, "Where are you guys seeing elk?" And we might have said, "Oh, we're sitting water and we're seeing elk." And Simon would have said, "Well, let's go sit some water." And so all of the experiences we got, like I said earlier, in high school nomenclature, but Jesse really popped our elk hunting cherry. And then we got in there and we started chasing stuff, and we called Ryan in. We called Ryan in at least 3 different times. Yeah. That dude just couldn't resist coming into my bugling. He fucking loved my bugles, man. Yeah. He came in every time.
And I do feel like Simon was like, he was actually stoked. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he was really, really happy that I did was there, because he got like the feet on the ground prior. Like I knew there was elk there. So he's like, hey, there's local knowledge that there's elk here. I don't have to tell these guys like, hey, let's go way down south or whatever. I know there's elk here. This guy's saying there's elk here. He's killed elk in here. Cool. Let's just run with this. So it kind of made his life a little easier. And so I feel like at the end of the day, that's why he was like so cool with me coming along. Because in the most of the time, elk guides do not do that. They would not be like, oh, you befriended a local, let's have him come along for the hunt. Like, no, that's not it. That's not the conversation. Yeah.
I thought that was one of the things that I really respected about Simon. He had a good gauge for what was real and what was shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and Ben and I were questioning what, like, I remember the first night we sat with him and he's like, well, tell me about what you got going on. And we're like, here's where we were. Here's what we got going on now. Here's what we did with Jesse. Here's where we saw some stuff, but it really seemed to cool down and like everything was blown out. And he's like, we're going back in there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, and in my mind, I was like, the fuck? Why would we go back in there tomorrow?
Right. Yeah.
We blew everything out of there. There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're going back in there tomorrow. They're there.
Yeah.
And there's no way without him, Ben and I would have went in there the next day. We'd have been like, no. It's blown out. It's screwed up.
Right.
We saw all the elk run away.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, they'll be back. We'll be in there.
Yeah. I told you guys about that area too. And like, even when I told Simon, I was like, hey, 80% of the time I go in this area, I have a good time. You once again, you can't beat those odds. Like I've been in there literally just so many times. 80% of the time you go in there, you have a good time. And he was on the same level. He's like, yeah, no, let's just keep going in there. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not totally crazy. Might be a little, but not totally, you know?
Even on the last day when it was really warm out, and maybe it was a dude, but I just can't imagine it was a dude. But we went down to this fence jump where we thought they were crossing, coming up like kind of up to the east, up the hill. And we got down in there. And it wasn't exactly where Ben and I wanted to go, but we also just wanted to like play his card. Like Simon wanted to go play your card. We wanted to be more like yeah, we wanted to be more mid-hill where we felt like we could adjust more to wherever they came up, because they had gone south. Like they bailed off the hill to the south the night before. And
I got 2% battery left, just so you know.
All right. We'll wrap this baby up. But Jesse, you and I got to do another episode just and talk about your business and do that.
Heck yeah.
So we'll schedule that if we lose you. But even on the last day when it was super hot out, like we heard a chuckle, just a lone chuckle. And it was just like, I don't think that was a hunter. I don't know a hunter that just like randomly chuckles like that. And it wasn't far away, but we never found the elk, and we had seen headlamps over there. We don't know if it was another hunter. But even like that last day when it was super freaking warm out, I mean, it was like 50 when we were walking in. We're like walking in a t-shirt.
Jeez, that's crazy. Considering that like day 4 we were in there and it was below freezing. It was 31 degrees. Yeah. You know, like it's just so weird how it warmed up on us. Like, and I've told you guys too, I've had in this same hunt, I've had it snow on me. And then this year, mid-year, like it's 50 degrees, just crazy.
But it also hailed on us.
It did hail on us.
Oh, it did hail, yeah.
That was cool. That was some booming lightning. I mean, that was like our asses.
Well, and it did light a fire on Saturday, the day that I killed my elk. Actually, a fire lit, but
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I sure did.
Yeah.
So we're a couple hours in. I'm not surprised. This is like the Joe Rogan experience of business podcasts. Jesse, we'll see you in a month. And I don't know that I have an open time slot before then to do another episode, but you and I will get one scheduled. Just nerd out on your business stuff. We didn't get to talk about that today. Any closing thoughts, comments before your phone dies on you?
No, man. I mean, I think overall, like, I'm just happy that the experience like happened, and that like at the end of the day, I was open to meeting you guys and seeing what you guys were into, and I think we had a ton of fun. And yeah, I'm just super thankful that everything kind of fell together, and looking forward to go hunting some whitetail.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Hey, dude. We can let Jesse go back to his life.
Cool. Yeah. Rock on, man. Dude. We'll see you guys later.
Tell Amber and wife Amber and Max, we say hi. And
All right, will do, man.
keep him out of trouble.
You
All right, later.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Ben, you got any closing thoughts before I pee my pants, dude?
No, man. Other than thank you for being my elk hunting buddy. That
Dude, I'm like, this is just me tapping my own back a little bit, but like, I'm really glad I got the call-in figured out. I felt like I was hanging
yeah,
in
you
there
were
on the call-in.
you're doing really well. Bugling took me a little bit. I think it's more of just an understanding. Like the cow calling, I think you understand and can do.
Yeah,
The bugling you can do.
I can do, but I don't know the different languages. Like
Like
Simon's
when
like, what kind of
Simon's like,
bugle was
"Whoa."
that? And I'm just like, is a bugle, dude. Yeah,
It's a little aggressive, and it's like, oh well, I'm just really tough.
what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming.
But no, man, it was so fun, and I'm fortunate to have my business where the rail stayed on, and I was able to go do this. You know, not a lot of people get that opportunity, like literally because of tag draw, and when you do draw it, you're not able to go do the whole season. So, thank you to my business. Thank you to my team. Thank you to my wife, number one, who is on all of those things. And thanks to my kids for just liking me enough that they'll let me leave for that long.
Yeah. I actually I meant to make a post. I never did make a post. But I was gonna shout out Kurt Geyer for saying you can't kill big bucks if your wife sucks, because you can't kill big bulls if your wife sucks. I got
I
that.
do a lot of things if your wife sucks. Like
Yep.
that's you could put just a blank line instead of big bucks.
You can't
just put a
do
blank
blah
line.
if your wife sucks. And it's reciprocal, right? You also, if you're a female, you can't do that if your husband sucks either. And we just happen to be so lucky to have awesome wives that let us do that shit and want us to go have that fun and awesome families. But also in the business owner sense, you can't do that if you don't have an awesome business and don't have awesome employees and they don't have your back and they don't want you to go be able to do that sort of thing. It's so full circle. And obviously, like, I was there and I had to jump on the Wi-Fi and have some conversations and stuff, but my business is a little bit newer and we're growing and we're figuring stuff out. And it's all good, but you just can't, like, there's no replacing those experiences. There's no substitute. Can't fake it.
You know, I mean, it is weird because we didn't get the. I didn't shoot anything, you know. But
we got an elk.
We got an elk.
We tagged an elk.
And I don't know if I can even. I don't have it on my Facebook at all, but maybe if I can hold this photo up and see if somebody can even see how big this thing is. Like,
it's so cool. It's such a cool freaking animal.
Here's your boy Dan. Hold on. There we go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there I am. Just holding that bitch. It's just
So
so big. It's just so big.
Dude, so I dropped that off Monday morning to Brett.
What'd he say?
He's like, oh wow, that's a bad one. Because he wanted me to wait till Monday morning. So I'm like, okay, now this thing's gonna be going on like a week, bro. You know, like, and he's like, that might be one of the worst ones I've had yet. And I drag it out and there's maggots on the boxes that were in my truck.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, look at all the maggots. And I'm just like, I agree that this is gross, but like, dang, dude. Like, you're the elk guy, or you're the taxidermist guy. But he was like, afterwards, I was like, do I owe you more money? He goes, we'll figure it out later. And he's like, I might actually, like, you have me dragging around back. And he's like, this is the rot pile. And I was like, that's a lot to rot, you know, but whatever, dude. Just give me my thing eventually, you know? And then afterwards, he's like, you know, I might have to go cut some of the meat off there. There's still a lot on there. Like, there's a lot of meat in there, dude. And I tell you that I also put the head by the chicken coop, and I was like hoping that the chickens would start like eating all the maggots out of it. They were terrified of that thing, dude.
That's great. I bet they were. I bet they were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I kept picking them up and trying to put them on it, and they just like, So no, it was such a cool experience, man. Like, I'm excited to be home. I do regret that we leave in 2 days for another exciting experience.
Dude, it'll be fun jigging up walleyes. We'll have a blast. We should do. I have work to do like on the drive. Like I got meetings and I got calls and I got whatever, which is the nature of my business right now. We're not that scaled up yet. But I do think maybe we should do a podcast while we're out there. We haven't done one while we're out there. And we have midday to do it. We ain't doing shit midday. It'd be fun to catch up with Aaron and Eric and talk about some walleye jigging.
Yeah.
So
we're out Dudesman's Outdoors.
Oh, Dudesman's Outdoor Adventures Outdoors is what you're talking about right now?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Is that a piece? Are you piecing?
Yeah.
That was do
whatever business bullshit you got to do.
Let's do it this way. Business nerds, thank you guys for tuning in. That was a long one. As it always is for you want to make fun of my pinky right now while you're I got this jacked up pinky. Ben does a great mockery of me. I deserve it. I fully deserved. This is just so distracting. Trying to go host on an episode. I'm about to kick Ben out of here. I'm gonna kick him out. He's just a simple man that likes bow hunting and boobs, is all he is. But you guys know what to do, business nerds. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. Get outside. Like run your business, but go do sweet ass adventures. Go elk hunting. Go walleye fishing.
Make it worth it.
Yeah, go make friends like Jesse. Like, how cool is that? Another business owner doing sweet shit. Dude's got like a $3 million+ business doing car shit down in Flagstaff. We'll get into it because I'm gonna have him back on the show to talk all about it. But like, those are the dudes that you meet when you're out doing sweet shit. They can do cool stuff. They like to work hard. They like to play hard. Go find them. Go experience them. Go make buddies with them. Go do this type of shit. Shout out to Service Monster. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast and letting us do what we do and supporting all the listeners and all that. So go check out Service.
You're looking for another sponsor, Out Dudesman's Outdoor Adventures and Outdoors of Out is interested.
Yeah, for free. We're always interested for free. Anything we can do for free, we're all about it. If you want to sponsor Out Dudesman Outdoor Adventures and make videos for us, we'll record it. We just won't edit it. You just got to edit it. There's no editing. We got to record some. Yeah, we'll start recording some stuff. Jai, you're gonna get busy. Jai will be our producer man for Out Dudesman's Outdoors. All right, you guys. That's a wrap. Good night. We'll see you soon. This is going to be a long week. I got 2 episodes tomorrow. I forget who I got on tomorrow night. And then maybe we'll do another one this weekend. We got catching up to do. We got content to make. We'll see you on the next one. Good night.